Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, what I tried to do is organize all the homework as it came in at different times. Um, trying to organize it for how you chose to do it, from the non-figurative abstracts to um, the Picasso assignment, and so I think before I start on the Picassos, um, I'd like to share a little story about a dream that I had regarding Picasso. So let's just do this. I'm going to go here and back to this screen, and I'm back to here. All right, can you all see this here?
Yes.
On my, okay. So what it was is, look at that, 2011, I had a dream. This was a blog that I once kept. I haven't kept it since, I don't know, maybe 2012, but it's still out there in the ethers if you ever want to look at it. But it was a dream that I had where I was painting a landscape or a seascape. I was out on Padero Lane Beach, and I'm looking towards Casablanca, those white buildings behind Santa Claus there. And, I had the ocean coming up, and you could see Casablanca above the rocks there. And I look up to my left where the railroad tracks are, and Picasso is walking toward me on the beach. and he's walking down, and I just stopped, and I looked, and I said, "Oh, Picasso, oh, no." Hey, and he smiles, and he says, he says, "How you doing?" He says, "Can I take a look at what you're doing?" I said, "Absolutely." And he's looking. He says, "Oh, this is good. This is good." And it's just a little sketch that I'm doing. He says, "Can I show you something?" And so immediately I just give him my brush, and he takes the brush, and he proceeds to turn the Casablanca building into a horse with its front feet in the water, in the ocean, drinking from the water. And I thought, wow, okay, that's pretty amazing to change things like that. And then the dream was over. Okay, dream was over. So I once had a class, my landscape painting class. See if I can bring this up a little larger. And that and the beach was around, the fact that Einstein stood in that spot, and I told the dream, and then I proceeded to teach the landscape painting class, show the demo of this is Casablanca down here, and you could see the ocean there, and then I did my best to recreate what I was doing or what he did in the dream, but it wound up becoming a little more representational than his. His was a little more cubistic and also more line work. Ooh. But what do you know? So anyway, I just wanted to share that that little Picasso dream, since you guys were given the assignment of getting inside the head of a true master cubist artist. The only thing really kind of extraordinary that I did was I gave the horse the evil eye, for the Greek and Turkish mythology around the evil eye to scare away, what do they scare away anyway? I don't really know. But
evil spirits.
Evil spirits. That's right. Okay, so there you go. I just wanted to share that with you while we were waiting for a few more people to get in, and we're ready to go. All right, now I'm going to do a new share. I'm going to go back to my iPad. I'm going to shrink this down, get that out of the way, and we'll take it one at a time here. We'll start off with, I was going to start off with the Picasso, but I think I'm going to do, since there were fewer of the non-figurative abstracts that came through. In fact, one of them or two of them came through, and for some reason it couldn't download onto my iPad. So I'm just going to go back to the desktop here. Okay, and you can see this one here, and this belongs to Elizabeth Hatch. Is Elizabeth here? All right. Nope, I guess not. Okay, so we won't share that one. Then we will share the next one here. Let's go to this one. And I forget who this belongs to. Can somebody claim this?
Sorry, Tom, that's me, Sandy.
Hey, Sandy. Okay, you did a lovely job. I really like it. It's everything I asked for. Nice color. It's a frameable piece. So
Thank you.
It wasn't that difficult, right? I mean, it was a fairly.
No, it was much harder than it looks.
Well, especially because you tried to do it with color, right?
Well, actually, just the doodle was hard.
Yeah, and to stay within the armatures.
Just to do a doodle. This was like my 4th or 5th try.
No kidding. Well, look what you learned in the meantime. Okay, what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to bring it up again, and I'm going to edit it in a way that it takes away the color, and then so I'm going to desaturate the color, so you can see now that I just wanted to see. Hopefully, you would get all values in there, right? You could see value instead of just color. So it looks like you did pretty good with that. Pretty damn close. You got some transparencies happening in there, and just an interesting design. So it was just difficult for you to align things and keep it looking natural and organic. So, but I like what you did. You got some nice variations in values, and so I'm happy.
What do you mean by a line?
A line. These are all, this is a line. This is basically a line drawing.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, I mean a line.
A line, well, the quest was to very lightly draw a generic armature, okay?
Yeah.
And then when you're doing these doodles as they flow, if you can make it flow and align with an intersection, you know, an implicit eye, so to speak, and some of the vertical or horizontal vertices. Okay, you can tweak it so it aligns with the structure of the armature. I tried to make that as clear as possible. So but that's what I meant. Okay, and it looks like you did fairly well. I'm happy with it. And so now that I've got that out of the way.
So I have a question about that.
Yes.
So on the focal points, you would try to put some of those in the points on that armature, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's.
Yeah, you would want your areas of most contrast. The areas of most contrast would go where you want your viewer's eye to go, first, second, and third. Okay.
Okay, but not necessarily in the middle as a focal point. You'd use the rule of thirds also.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there were some rules that you should probably try to avoid at all cost, unless you have the intention of breaking the rule to begin with. So, you know, so like on this one, can you see it at where my cursor is? Do you see the black and white there? Okay. So where that cursor is, that's kind of like the dead center. So you'd want to kind of try to avoid something there that's of contrast or consequence, has a hierarchical value and contrast that's going to make the viewer stay here and not want to meander outside of that realm. So right now I'm looking over here to the bottom left, and the focal point is all the way down here because of the amount of contrast that's led my eye down to that area. All right, so it's not that strong, but it is strong. It's the size, it's the scale of it that probably diminishes the importance. So that's kind of a rule that's been broken, and you've gotten away with it. You've taken the focal point and moved it all the way to the bottom left, and as far as the darkest value. But then, you know, now I'm looking to see where my eye goes next, and this is the next area of contrast up here. and then it kind of gets a little bit even Steven around all these other areas. They're not necessarily drawing me away. So so my eyes kind of, if you look at it, if you squint your eyes now, you'll see the areas of most contrast is where the eye gets stuck, okay, or the eye goes to.
I have that my eye goes right to that really cool shape up in the far left corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though it's not the darkest, but the shape of it is very different from the rest. And then it flows around to the top, that dark, and then maybe circles around to the bottom, ending up in the far left corner.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Could you put the color back on and see how it just?
Yeah, let's see what happened to that. Hold on a second here. Where'd the color one go? Right, here's the color one. Okay, there's the color one.
Now, doesn't that change it completely? I mean, as far as where your eye travels around?
Yeah, it's still the black or the real dark value down here draws me down to the corner.
Right.
You know, it's such a balancing act. So it's really important for you from here on out to have a tool on your phone to desaturate the colors and make sure you're supporting your thesis or your statement, which every painting that you do is a thesis. And you have your point of view, and you direct the viewer's eye to that point of view first, then second, then third. Okay, and then the others all are in support of that. All right, so you're looking at the color, and then you check the value until it becomes ingrained in you that you're always going to see value of color. All right, and then eventually, if the value's right, common sense has it, if the value's right, the color will be right. Okay, it's just not random. Okay, there's reasoning to it. Okay, so anyway, nicely done.
Thank you. I want to do this again and modify my drawing and do a lot different with color.
Absolutely, send it back. I want to. In other words, I want to see it when you modify it.
Okay.
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 I love this improvement and awareness of what you're doing. Okay. All right. Here's another one that did not download onto my iPad, so I'm bringing it up here on my desktop. And this is Elizabeth. Are you here back again? Are you here?
I am. I got here. Yeah, I couldn't
Awesome.
get my Zoom to work on my computer.
Okay. All right. Nicely done on this as well. You know, it's great. It's fun, and it has a nice balance and nice surreal quality to it. It has some organic feeling to it. I love the transparency here. I like how you chose to handle it. It's really, really cool. Did you have fun?
Yeah, I actually really did. And I totally just didn't even think about composition per se. I just kind of threw it together and it really worked well. I mean, I got done with it. I'm like, geez, I actually kind of like this. I can see things in it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The more you work with stuff like this, you start to see the folds up here on the right. Let me annotate this. Hold on just 1 second. Let me bring on the spotlight. So you can annotate things, and I mean, you can see the illusion of shape starting to happen to some form of dimension, and that transparency starts to happen, and the imagination starts to take over, which is exactly where you want to be. Okay, so you know, look at Calder, for instance, or Miro. Look at those guys, and see how they played with these shapes.
On the penalty, in which case we'll get a credit.
Oh, okay, Nina, mute your self there, Nina. Okay. Thanks.
I have a question of Elizabeth. Did you draw the armature on that and then go over the?
No, I actually didn't. That's what I was saying. I totally like spaced that part of the assignment and just doodled onto the paper and then put the colors where I put the values where I thought they ought to go. I mean, I really didn't. I kind of did this organically rather than doing it by the armature. But after I was done, I think it worked.
Yeah. How big of a painting is that?
It's very small. It's probably 8 by 10.
Okay.
Is it acrylic or canvas, or what's the medium?
I used a canvas board, and all I had to work with was watercolors. So I just took cheap Prang watercolors, I took the black and then I did the values with black and washed out black.
Wow, that's a lot of effort. Great job.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is a lot of effort, and especially because you're dealing with a transparent medium, and in its pure state, the shade of black here is so opaque that it's just basically pure pure watercolor on canvas.
Yep.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you would do with these values in mind, but using a color scheme. What I mean by color scheme is a deliberate choice in a palette, is either an impressionist palette of complement color, juxtaposed complements, or split complement palette, or analogous color complement. You could do the same thing, but you've got to pay attention to the values and where you place each of those colors, so they don't distract. If you don't want them to view, the viewer's eye to go somewhere, you've got to make a different choice. So I love this. I love how subtle that is. So anyway, my job is just to plant the seeds and get you to
yeah, I feel like it would be super fun to put this on Photoshop and mess around with the colors, because
yeah, do.
I'll try that.
Absolutely. Isn't it? It's kind of refreshing. It's very very liberating to be able to do something like this. It's all imagination and restriction. But the reason why I asked you to do the armature was so you kind of had an idea, basically of where there is some direction, not just in line, but also you're guiding the viewers direction. It's also kind of so you don't have any monotony or redundancy in terms of value patterns against the other. Just kind of gives you a little more guidance. So like, if you were to frame this right now, you see this corner right up here on the left?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You'd lose about 1/4 inch of that. All right. So you got to pay attention to the structure, and in the future, unless you're going to float an image like this in a floating frame where you will see this edge, and that becomes intentional, then there's not a big deal. Okay. So, all right. Now, so that's,
Thanks.
You're welcome. So the next one, we get rid of that.
Thomas, I have a question. This is Gay. You just said something about impressionist palette.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said impressionist palette. I said split impressionism. In other words, the impressionist palette impressionism is nothing more than color theory. It's the juxtaposition of from the color wheel of complementary hue in proximity to each other to activate the viewer's eye and create the illusion not only of vibrancy but of getting the colors to merge so the hue changes from a distance. Okay, so they're just thinking about what's opposite each other, each color on the color wheel. That's impressionism. Okay. And the split, impressionism still could be split complement, which is instead of direct opposite colors on the color wheel, you're working with I think it's the instead of the primary color with its secondary, you've got the split complement. You've got a percentage of what's next to that secondary color, not the full color of the complement. Okay, it's the next one analogous to that on both sides. There's a hierarchy of that as well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have as much of an impact as far as the contrast and of intensities and chroma, which is redundant. Sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. Well, it's good to know because that's what we deal with in my color class. All right. Let me flip this around here. This is the other one that did not download onto my iPad. So after this, we'll go onto my iPad and I'll be able to mess with it a little bit here. So, Gay, this is yours. Boy, it looks nice in a frame. Yeah. What size did you do this?
Just laid it over it. And I just laid the matting over the tape, that I had. Yeah.
Still, you still get a nice feeling about it. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
it finishes it off. So is it watercolor?
Yeah.
Okay. And I do see the remnants of the armature coming through on that. So
Right.
I could barely see it up in there. So I'm glad you didn't do it really heavy, because, you know, you would have lost some of the charm of it. But it is only meant to be an exercise and a study, but not a finished painting per se, that you can sign it and sell it for, you know, $45 million. You should put after Picasso here.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just
Okay.
I would not want you to get in trouble in the world out there. There's so much going on that we don't need you being sued by Picasso's heirs.
No.
Anyway, nicely done. Okay. Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was a challenge. I loved it.
All right. Now, everyone's that I saw was slightly different. You know, the color usage, how things were represented. I wish I could bring them all up at the same time, and I probably could if I shrunk them down. And, you know, like, that's not a bad idea for a future class, is that I bring all the homework and I download it onto like a Word, but I shrink them down. But you get to see the entire class's work all side by side. Anyway, let's see here. Okay, so last thing is on the armatures. Could you see where things lined up?
Yes.
Did you do
Yes,
an
I did the armature first on the printout and then
Yes,
the
good.
armature on the blank paper.
All right, great. All right, so he did not do armatures. He didn't have to. He knew where everything was, right? Because the guy's a master. He's been doing it. It's like he could do them in his sleep. He just knows all these reference points that exist in this notional space, okay, and within this format here. There's an infinite number of points, and some of them ring more true than others. So by the time he was doing work like this, he was already in his mid to late career as an artist, and he'd probably already been given 3, maybe 4 retrospectives. All right, because he was just an amazing artist, and we will talk about that another time. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Thank you very much. Now we'll go back onto the iPad.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we'll go a new share here. Go to the iPad, bring it back up, and here it comes. Come on, Seabiscuit. There we go. But you did know I named my iPad Seabiscuit. Come on, you can do it. Come on. Let's see, is it already on here? No. Here we go. All right, so let's start up at the top here. Cancel. Let's take it from the top. We'll go for this one here. Who does? Oh, Nicola. Thank you. You put after Picasso. Good for you. This is exactly what I wanted. I just wanted you to have to hang out with him for a while. My understanding is you can do that with any artist that intrigues you. You can study them, write with them, ask them questions, to get inside their head. And that energy is there, and we can all tap into that. It's available to us. And so what I was hoping was that you would just do exactly as you did, and align yourself with it. So that's another thing that I mean about alignment. We're all trying to align with something and trying to find our way and seek out the guidance from the masters here, which is exactly what they did. So this was...
Yeah, I had a really good time doing this.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, God, I love Picasso.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Good for you. It looks great. Your colors look fresh. The line work is nice. You had fun. What's the size of this?
It's 8 by 9.5 or something like that.
Okay, 8 by 10. Good. Okay. You lose a little bit. You lose a little bit up here. I'll just say I'm not sure your photograph was catching the full armature. Do you see what I'm saying? You see how they're like they're ending here and here and here. Did you actually take them to the corner of the paper?
The armature?
Yep.
Yeah, I erased them as best I could. So what was left was the stuff that I couldn't erase.
Well, that's fine. No, that's fine. I like to see the armature. What my point is, if you took them to the corner, what you sent me was a cropped version of your image.
Oh, yeah. I guess so.
This
Yeah.
ends here, that ends here, and that ends there.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
the same on the other side too. This ends here, that ends there. Okay. So anyway, I'm just I'm like a detective. I'm trying to piece things together here. All right. This is what we do. The critical eye, you always ask yourself, what's wrong with something. All right.
Yeah.
Because then, and the more you can nail things like that, the more you'll be hired to, figure out things. Okay. So
yeah.
Anyway, this is beautiful. I hope you frame it. I hope you at least pin it up on your wall and look at it from time to time.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Thank
All
you.
hope. You're welcome. Okay. Let's see what is coming up next here. On deck.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
With the armature, if you're gonna have a border on your piece of paper,
Yes.
do you scale it to the whole paper or to the edge of the border?
I would always give myself a frame. Okay. So I'm always conscious that if I'm going to have any image within the notional space or the format, I will I'll take that into consideration. But with the armatures, like let me just bring this one up right here. Okay. See, this one has a nice little frame to it, right? You see how the armatures are going right to the end here. Okay. If she were to frame this, she's not going to lose anything. If the image ran off the page or was cropped, she's not going to lose anything on that cropping. This whole space in here is going to be covered by matte. You know matte. I make myself laugh. Okay. Anyway, so does that answer your question? Does this answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but even if you didn't have this and this was a canvas that she was drawing or painting on, she could have taken it right to the very edge and run the armatures right here. But just be aware that when you're doing the design, you're going to lose a 1/4 inch everywhere you go if you're planning on framing it. So you want to adjust those shapes, and maybe that's going to be part of your design. Period. Okay, so this is an image of an armature 8 by 10 within another format of paper, so that's fine. And she did exactly what she needed to do. She did her generic armature, and then she did her drawing, and was fun. Stacy, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah. So thank you for doing this. I love seeing the structure of the armature and seeing where you that you were paying attention to where his things aligned, his line aligned.
Yeah.
So that's good. You passed it this time. Because didn't you take this class before? Were you in the?
I've taken the class, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So you're getting better and better and better. And there's another one right there, and there's nothing right there right now. But anyway, so the point is, wherever these come around in your own drawings or paintings, wherever you see these little intersections, you can have vertical and horizontal vertices, okay? And you can redesign or reconfigure whatever it is you're looking at so it lands in proximity to those, okay? And then that will be the fun zone, because then everybody will be oohing and awing how well you can draw. All right, so we did that one. Let's go to another Picasso here. All right, whose is this one right here?
Ooh, that's cool.
Isn't that beautiful? Who is this? Anybody? No takers? It looks like the original.
It is.
Oh my God. Why did you send that in for me? That's so funny.
For the color.
Okay, so is this yours then?
Yes.
Okay, Wendy. All right. Looks good. Looks like you had fun.
I did. It was great.
What a relief. I hope you have fun on the next one too. The next homework assignment. It's going to be a little more calm though. It's going to be less fingernails on the chalkboard type of zany color. And it's going to be a little more, a little more placid, I guess you can say. So it looks good. Look at how the armature and the arm, no pun intended, arrive here. That's a nice alignment. And even this down here on the bottom, even that aligns with that. And yeah, I can't really see too much more on this one, but it works. Well, look at how this lines up with this. And that lines up with that. Okay, so this is a magical moment here. You're starting to see things. This is good. You will never be the same after this class. Okay?
I won't.
You won't. And Alice, you're here?
Yeah.
Okay. I like your color palette. It's not so intense, but you have control of the chroma.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you.
And so it's easy on the eyes. Okay.
The color in the print, when I printed it out, was so different from the color.
Hold on. I got to mute somebody. Let's see. Mute. Bonk. Okay. All right. Say that again.
The color on the screen, as opposed to the color when I printed it out, especially her skin tone, was very different. So I used the screen rather than the printed out one.
Yeah.
The printed out one had much more yellow in it.
Right. I know, this is what we're dealing with here. Everybody's got a different monitor. Everyone's got a different printer. And then even my resolution, what I'm seeing off of my MacBook Pro here is different. So, we're all in the neighborhood, but we just have to trust that we're seeing what we need to see when we need to see it.
It was interesting looking at everybody else's, because they picked up that this bottom green thing with the lines was a hand. I didn't pick that up when I was drawing it. I just
you went for the abstract shape.
I had no idea that was a hand.
Yeah, well, now that you mention it, I could probably see it now. I haven't really deduced so much what was going on here. Oh yeah, I get it now. I see it now. The thumb.
Right, the thumb, but I think I might have made these lines a little bit different and maybe made the thumb a little skinnier. I used the armature and I was just following the armature, so I ended up with that shape.
Okay.
But when I saw everybody else's drawing, I thought, oh my gosh, it was a hand.
Yeah. And it looks like she's carrying a book or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's got very weird breath.
Oh, yeah.
She's got something in her arms. Like Dora goes to the library. Yeah. Dora as a schoolgirl. I don't know. But it's fun. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's a fun assignment. I always thought this looked like a chess piece or something.
Uh-huh.
The way it's kind of painted like that.
Thomas, what is the name of this Picasso portrait? And do you know what museum it's in?
I do not, but it's the portrait of Dora Maar. Dora Maar. But you could easy to find out. Yeah, easy to find out. So anyway, last thing I want to say is that I did see your I could see your armatures, and that's good. I saw things. I thought I saw them. Where did I see them?
Yeah, I tried to erase them. You can see them in the yellow.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, in the yellow. That's fine. That's fine. That's okay. There's structure there, right? There's structure.
Yeah.
It's good. It's all good. All right. And I love this one here, right? There. Okay. That's fine by me. Okay. Happy, happy. Okay. So we did that one, and now we'll do this one. Okay. Katie, are you here?
I'm here.
Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. I can see your armature too. So everybody's getting it. You're getting it. I see them. This is good.
Well, yeah, I love the way the green triangle on top goes down and hits both sides of the shoulders and the corners.
Yeah. Like here to here. That type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you saw that, because today the structure is triangles again. The triangular composition that you're going to see, and how popular it is, and how it's been used, and who's used it, and how I recommend it myself from now on. But there's different types of compositions, and today we'll be focusing in on that triangle. And so this is all good. You know, without having the original up right now, I can't really compare it to anything. I'm just glad that you did it. Armatures, and maybe the colors. I like this figure 8 going on here on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Notice that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I noticed it was weird.
It was weird.
It's kind of repeated in the black dots on top too.
In the black, yeah, but it's separated, yeah. But you're right. This kind of goes up.
Infinity sign.
Oh, and in the boobs.
Infinity sign. That's correct. Yeah. So
Picasso is forever.
Sorry.
Picasso is forever.
Yes. The nose knows everything.
Actually, you know, when I looked at the nose, to me it looked like the one on the left was very smooth, with smooth lines, and the one on the right looked like they were more straight lines.
Okay, so here's the original. Yeah, in other words, it's more more angular, like this, like that, like that, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I got that. I see exactly what you mean by that. Let me do that again. Here. And yeah, and this one's more round. This one's more rounded. Yeah, so there's variation, okay? He was full of why not-isms. And what the hell-isms, shall we say. All right. Thank you for the lesson, Picasso. Let's see. We did that one. Okay, I gotta just keep moving along here. We did that. This one. Okay, whose is this?
It's
Anybody? Who's that? Who's that?
Vale.
Hi, Vale.
Hi.
Did you have fun?
I did.
All right. It's like, you know, the saying. He said something like, "It took me 4 years to learn to paint like Rubens, but it took me a lifetime to learn to paint like a child." So now, and I'm pretty sure it was Rubens. If not, it was Raphael, but I think it's Rubens. Anyways, so, and then he went laughing all the way to the bank because he was just having fun, but he understood the armatures again. Did you do armatures on this one?
Yes, but I had an undercoat and then I had an overcoat, and I guess you can't see them through.
That's okay. That's okay. I like your overcoat. So cold out there. You need one.
Yes.
Nice colors. I love your color harmonies that you chose here. This is turning into an evil eye here. You see that? This right there. Approach. I like the variation. Okay, because you can see some people that gave her blue lips, and some people gave her purple lips, and the intensities of the green, the oranges, and the yellows are slightly different. Some are warmer, cooler, lighter, darker, richer, grayer. And so, but there's variety, and that's what's exciting to me. It's your interpretation of a Picasso.
Thomas, what do you mean by overcoat?
The background here, he just put a color over it. She concealed, like she had an underpainting color, and then did you do your armature and then the underpainting? Underpainting and then the armature over that.
I did the armature and then the wash, and
Okay.
then after the color, I put another overcoat.
Yes. Okay. So do you understand that? We just called it an overcoat, just basically a masked in covering.
Is the overcoat over the color or only over the blank part?
The overcoat is everywhere you just saw me do this. And it's over the entire painting was toned a certain color to begin with.
Just the background.
Yeah. Well, no, the whole canvas was covered a certain color.
Right.
And she did the armature. Did you spray fix the armature?
Yes.
Okay. So then she toned it and then when the painting was done, did you cover it off last, the background last, or did you just
last?
Last. Yeah.
No, I did the color part, all the color, and then last put the whitish gray over it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. So because it's a whitish gray, because it's a muted form of white and it's not pure bright white, it doesn't conflict with everything, and because it's muted, it actually does make other colors look more intense. Okay, so it's a tint, a grade. Okay. Hey, Elizabeth.
Thomas?
Yeah.
There's a few people that their mics are on and there's some kind of background.
I was just going to say that. All right. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to mute all. There we go. Okay. All right. So everybody's muted right now. If you want to speak, you'll need to hit your space bar. I hear one person though. What? I don't know who that is. All right. Anyway, nicely done. Thank you very much. Let's see. Okay, we did that one. Okay, and now we just have a handful of other non-figurative abstracts here. Julia.
Hi.
Okay. So this was kind of an interesting project. Was this your own interpretation of the abstract piece?
I sent you 3 of them, and the other 2 were done first. And then I just saw animals in them, so I sent you that for fun. But
nice. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to bring up this one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and this was your non-figurative exercise.
Correct.
All right. That looks fun. I like the fact that you can turn it in all directions. Look at that. Looks like a figure.
It does it?
Yeah, it looks like here's the head. You know, here's an arm. It's resting on its side. This might be a leg. Looks like it's a figure in a cocoon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's mostly this shape here. See that? The head.
Yeah.
All right, so you did that first. Then you did this. Wow, I like this. You've got some interesting pattern work here on this. Did you do an armature first?
Yeah.
All right.
An armature, and then I used a jelly plate, and I did a traced monotype.
Okay.
And then I added color on top of the ink once it dried. And then when I was looking at those, that's how I started seeing the eyes of the bird. This one would be, you'd have to flip it 180 degrees or something. And then it turned into the bird's eyes. I found bird's eyes, and then yeah. So you'll see that big circle going down is the circle at the bottom of the bird drawing. So anyways, the other one, it just started morphing out of that.
Yeah, this almost looks like a fly, you know, this shape here. It looks like a stone wings, you know.
Yeah.
I see fish.
You see fish, okay. I saw a football earlier. I mean, I thought this back thing here was the football. You know, I love artwork like this. I also see Easter eggs. I see, you know, I just see a lot of an eventual clownfish. You know, clownfish.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then like swirling like an otter or something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Julia lives next to the ocean, so sometimes next to the ocean. So she's got a lot of you know, a lot of ocean, a lot of water feeling to what she does. A lot of, you can tell she's influenced by that.
Julia. I definitely saw eggs all over the place on this one, and I think that's part of what led me to the bird with the eggs too. The bird has an egg.
So let's take a look at that. So then the final result was this one here. This was not the same painting though. It was a different one, right?
That, in fact, go back. Those circles, like you'll see the same circles where the eyes are kind of, and then where the egg is, and that big circle in the middle. That's all superimposed again. So I had it. You know, when I traced the monotype on the jelly plate, I still had a ghost image.
Yeah. Nice.
And then I applied more ink, and then I did some subtraction to get the texture.
Yeah.
And then I drew over that.
All right.
Julia, can I ask, it's Lola, real quick, what inks were you using for the trace and the color?
I was using Akua.
Okay.
The Akua inks, and you know, and those they took a little while to dry.
Yes.
And then I was using charcoal. I was trying to just find things that would go. I had a hard time finding things that would actually color onto the ink.
Thank you.
I had to be pretty inventive. Yeah.
It's great. Yay for the printmakers. Thanks.
Yay for the printmakers.
And I have a question. What type of armature was laid down underneath? Was it the one you showed initially? Was it divided into rectangles? I'm sorry, I missed last week's class. I want to be able to do the assignment.
This is the sinister and the baroque that I kind of did, and then I traced onto my jelly plate.
So it was basically a generic armature.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Does it not look like I followed armatures at this?
No.
I don't know.
No,
okay.
You did fine. You did fine. And listen, in a couple of weeks, let's see, probably next week, I'm going to expose, well, no, maybe in 2 more weeks, you're going to get to see an artist, a master artist. I'll probably have him do a demonstration, but he knew nothing about these armatures when I interviewed him the other day. And it's so fun because he's already got it. He knows what's going on without really having an awareness of the dynamic symmetries. And so, but he's very curious. He is very curious. And I think that's what it takes is, a lot of curiosity to keep trying to improve on your craft. So.
Oh, you know what, Thomas? I think this is the first draft that I sent you. I sent you a second one over the weekend because I felt like the birds didn't have enough contrast.
Okay.
And then the first and second, third focal point were not good.
Okay.
So it's actually different now.
Okay. All right. Who's this?
Okay, Thomas, that was artist, English-born Canadian artist, when I was in Winnipeg at the WAG, the Winnipeg Art Gallery. And you had, in your first lecture, talked about painters that were trying to paint music. Remember? So you had said to keep your eyes open for other artists. So I wish I could say this was mine, but it's not.
Well, could you send me along his name again?
Yes, I will. I have a poor photograph of the plaque, but I'll find it and send it to you again.
This is really this is a very much this is 21st century art. Okay, this is kind of combining all the art that's ever been in existence and taking it to the next level and trying to do something completely different without repeating the performance. So, which is what postmodernism is. It's repeating everything that's already been done, kind of regurgitating it and saying
Is that computer?
No. Am I muted? I'll tell you real quick who that is.
Yeah, I'm going to write his name down.
His name is Bertram.
Oh, okay.
Bertram Brooker, Brooker, Canadian, born in England, 1888 to 1955. The name of the piece, and it's an oil on canvas, is called Sounds Assembling, 1928.
Okay, so he's not contemporary. I thought he was a contemporary artist.
No, it was during that period of time you had said they were all trying to paint music.
Yeah, or yes.
You had said something about it in my notes.
Trying to paint, they were working in the fourth dimension. Yeah, they were doing.
That's right.
Yeah, this is the more like the surrealists were working. Yeah, that's we'll tap into that next week as well. So I'll bring this guy back up. Bertram
Brooker.
Got it. Good. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. Thank you very much.
I'd rather you critique that than my homework.
Yeah. Okay, well, I could have critiqued that. There was something I saw that was disturbing. But then again, we'll do that next week because we got to keep moving along here. We've got our own class to deal with. So, Lola, this is fun. This looks like bubbles.
It was, I was trying to evoke bubbles, but also somewhere in there quotation marks because of all the babble this past week. But I realized a mistake right away is my dark center. The darkest value is in the center. And then I did so much tracing of the armature, and then I thought, well, I'll have the bubbles disappear going outward. But now I see the Baroque line, but I'm kind of critiquing my own piece here, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
I see a lot of what I've done, and it was poor quality sketchbook paper, and the graphite was just going everywhere. But it was still fun.
Okay, so
I learned.
I want you to pay attention to the format. I'm going to take your name out, okay? Because your name is really distracting on this. So I take your name out, so now it's all about the artwork. And so if you squint your eyes, you're going to see how it sits within that notional space, the format, okay? And then it becomes a little more, I totally get what you're talking about with having the darkest spot in the dead center of it, So you're on right track or left track. So now, when you know you've made a mistake or there's an error in design like that, you could choose instead to maybe go somewhere else and divert attention away. So I'll come down here, like for instance, and I'll just make this slightly darker here, increasing the contrast slightly off there.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is kind of in the same placement as if you drew the rule of thirds. That would be happening in this neighborhood here. So the darker I make this down here, the more contrast, it's going to start to lessen the amount of hierarchy you gave to that center spot.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think I lost my nerve where to go next.
Okay, let me know when you find it again. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll help you. I'll help you find your nerve. Okay, now watch this. The dark spot to the left here, right here. I'm going to go. I'm just going to slightly. I'm going to take away from it first. Let me get rid of that. I'm going to just slightly tone that back. I'm going to use an eraser. We're using a graphite.
I was. Oh man, from 2B to 8B. Yeah.
Yeah. So just by doing what I just did, Okay, I now, yes, it did emphasize now the center, but it would allow me to come somewhere else and darken some other bubble somewhere
Yeah.
away from that neighborhood.
So much better.
Because it's all about balance, weight and balance. And then with these images, you guys, whenever you're working abstractly, you need to take them and move them around. You need to take them and move them around and take them and move them around. You need to spin them around, look at them from all different directions in order to, you know, play with it and see how it works from different directions. So this is not bad. I'm glad you did this because it gave us an opportunity to say, okay, I've broken a rule, but how can I lessen the severity of what it is I've done and get away with it?
Yes, thank you. This was valuable.
Good. Excellent. All right, thank you. Okay, Wendy, we didn't do this one, Wendy. I'm glad you did both.
No.
So this is fine. Okay, and you did it, right? You did it. You did the armature, and you've got them all kind of working together, and it's like a Chinese puzzle, you know, a wood puzzle that you got to pull things apart and get to. I'm looking to see if I see some transparency happening anywhere in the neighborhood. The only transparency I see is maybe some of the armature lines moving through.
Yeah.
Through the image. So that's an easy fix. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to help you out right now. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to come in here and I see the armature, or I see this line here. I'm going to go right in here. I'm just going to kind of gently tone that. Well, wait a second here. Where's my color? Hold on. Let me get a little darker. Okay. I'm just going to kind of make this a little bit darker. So it looks like it's underneath that plane of that image.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can play with that in other places too, wherever it looks like something's overlapping or whatever. You can do this. You can just slightly do something like that.
I just wanted to. I really had a hard time getting going with the doodling, so I looked at a photograph of leaves and rocks.
Yeah.
In a creek.
Oh, okay.
And started drawing that.
Okay,
and then
I see the leaf. Good.
Yeah.
So at least you went to nature for the answer.
Yeah.
And therefore, look at the organic shapes. You've abstracted nature very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very happy you did that. That's actually makes a lot of sense to me. So when the lesson is, when you can't figure something out, study nature. Nature's got it all together. Okay. Well, last thing. What about what's this yellow happening up there in the top left now, right there?
Well, I was going to originally just do it in colored pencil.
Okay.
But then I decided to do it in the graphite, but I thought I'd just leave the yellow in for fun.
Okay. Well, thanks. It's a lot of fun, but not as fun as you could have. So, anyway, I'm glad you did it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's this?
Oh,
that's combining kind of Picasso and color and non-figurative abstract, and this is really amazing.
Alice.
Who is this?
This is
Kurt?
Alice.
Oh, Alice. Hey, Alice. All right. You sound like Kurt.
Oh, okay. Now I think I'm on.
Okay, you on? Okay. So tell me, which way did you intend it to go?
That way.
All right.
At least that was the original idea.
This is really exciting.
I started with the idea of odd number of things.
Okay, good.
So I was going to do 3 balls, and then I thought it needed another ball, and that was 4. So then it needed another, it was one of those things. And so it was fun.
All right. Well, I love it because you actually satisfied the criteria with the transparency, the variety of shapes, and I'm looking at the values, and I think you got all the values in there too. And I'm including the colors.
Mm-hmm.
So if I would like to do a screenshot of this right now and then bring it up, and desaturate it, we'd probably see the full range of values going on. So abracadabra, I'm going to do that, and then we'll bring it up immediately and we'll look at it. And let's see where it is. Let me just bring this off to the side here. Hold on. Stand by. Where'd you go? I could have swore I just did a, oh, here. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up and desaturate it, and this will be a lesson for everybody. Okay, mark up. And
We don't see it yet. It's
hold
still
on. I know you will. You will. You will. I've got to bring this up. I'm glad you're not watching me struggle. So, all right, new share. Ready? Here comes the new share. There's the picture right now. I just did a screenshot of it on my computer. Now I'm going to go here. I'm going to desaturate it. I'm going to start taking the colors away. Wait. Oh, that's sharpness. Hold on. Desaturation. Here we go. See what happens when I start taking the color away from it. It starts to show the gray scales and the values that exist within them. So look at that. So now now you get to see, let me annotate this here. Now you get to see the variety within the grayscale, but you also get to see, if you squint your eyes, you get to ask yourself, where's the eye go first, second, and third? Is there balance to it? And the one thing I see happening is that is a repetition of the darkest value you could ever have off your palette, repeating a lot, especially around the sides here, like that one there. You got that one there, and then here. They all seem to be kind of like repeating in blackness. So, so if you squint your eyes, you can see how your eye will go up here first, which I'm not adverse to having that happen. And then this one kind of is the next contrast here, and then squinting the eyes, eye kind of comes around and gets a little bit closed in and cluttered up down here. So, and then one last thing is, I know you broke a rule here because you got to have like two redundant shapes here and here side by side. However, one of them is lighter, one's darker. But they both have transparency, and there's some, there's interesting things there. So let's see. Let's bring back some color and see what that's going to do here for us. We'll start to bring back a little bit of color at a time. Okay. See what starts to stand out first. And it's interesting because this color right there, this starts to become a focal point because of the contrast there and the temperature of it. And so, and then we're going to bring it up to full intensity. Look at that. Look at that saturation. Hoo-ah. Now, I know yours is not probably that intense, but they're saturated. So this is nice. It's fun. You had a good time doing it.
Yes, I did.
Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around. I kind of like it like that, but that's just me. Now, hold on a second. I'm going to reshare that.
I can't see it.
That's right. Hold on a second. Here it comes. She's coming. Okay.
Yes, I played with it like that. I like it that way as well. I felt as though those lines that I had go off the page and go through the drawing made a big difference. I didn't put them in until the very end. I was sort of back and forth.
Yeah, they anchor it down.
Like it rounded it.
Yeah, they anchor it down. So, and this looks, I'm seeing this face here. This periodolia is creeping into my brain. So I'm seeing a face, and I'm seeing, these are like balloons. Are they balloons? Are they floating? There's a lightness to them, and they get decreasingly or increasingly smaller as they go up. And so, this is really
it might be better that way.
I think you should keep it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
I would.
The guy looks like he's laughing, which is a good thing right now.
Lots
of laughing.
He's telling a story. All right. Well, nicely done, Alice. Okay.
Thank you.
Alice, is that watercolor?
The black and white and gray is watercolor, and the color is watercolor pencil.
Watercolor pencil. Wow, good for you that you were able to control that watercolor pencil. Look at this. Now look at, that's a color scheme. When you see colors holding together like that, that's a beautiful color palette. You could actually do an entire painting of that harmony and or of that harmony and or not so much that one, but these are analogous colors. Or this one here. Okay, that could be an entire color scheme for a painting. So it has a harmony. It's a cool blue, blue-violet, red-violet, split complement color scheme. And so that works as well. So anyway, that was fun. Okay, let's see. Who's this?
This is Kurt.
Hello, Kurt. I'm going to do your sketch first. Look at that. Wow. You're an engineer?
Well, a teacher of mathematics.
Ah, okay.
I was working with the Baroque diagonal
and
perpendiculars to the Baroque diagonal for the background striation.
Okay. So, and then you just painted over this one here too. So, all right. So you've got a nice variety of shapes happening here. It's fun. You know, there's some good balance going on, light and dark, chiaroscuro, form, formless. This is going to be fun. Let's see what you did with it here in the painting. Oh, wow. Now, is this the way you had intended it?
Yeah, when you talked about the different values, sort of a value study, I thought, well, that would be fodder for this kind of shading technique to try to create a three-dimensionality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's what my brain kind of came up with.
Yeah.
And I wanted the background to be this, the literal grayscale variation in values.
Yes. If you were to sign this painting, is this how you would hang it and sign it down below, or is this the way you had originally designed it, or was it this way?
No, I had it the original orientation with the blue on the bottom.
Okay, all right. Wow. Well, I think it's a successful piece. All right, I'm going to squint my eyes. And I'm looking for balance. I'm looking for feeling. I'm also going to suggest something unpredictable in that all of your shapes that are being presented to me are edged. They all have an edge, and it's pretty defined. Every edge is defined. I would look maybe to break something up or experiment or not be afraid to break something up and eliminate, maybe I'm going to go up here to this edge here just to tie something together. I'm going to go a little bit darker here.
What do you think about all these little white specks around the edges? I struggle with that just as a mechanical problem.
We'll do one thing at a time here. Hold on a second. Okay, so I'm just gonna tie these two together a little bit, just to see if that one little bit of change can make a difference in something. See what I just did? I just kind of simplified something and made it less separate, and it's the only thing around here that's not, not 100% defined. So now the thing about the canvas, you can rid yourself of that. You can just go back into that canvas with a fine brush and spend 8 hours and cover it. I'm just kidding on that. I hope it doesn't take 8 hours. But that's also the nature of the medium, I think.
Should I have put a sort of a bland color down on the canvas before I started the painting?
You would have lessened the risk of the contrast of the white showing through. If you'd had a harmonizing color, like you said, a bland color, a slight gray tone, or a tannish tone, or something that's interesting, at least if that showed through, it would have been of color. And it would have maybe harmonized a little better with what it is you're doing. Right now you're distracted by all the same little bits of whiteness showing through here. And that it is a little distracting. So
yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I think the texture of the canvas was really working against me.
I know, isn't it? It's a bummer, isn't it, when that happens? Now, there's one last thing you can do. Is this oils?
It's acrylic.
Acrylic? Okay, you can take a transparent wash. Okay, take a gel medium or varnish, or you can buy some open medium or glazing medium that's acrylic based, and make yourself a watercolor quality wash, and lay it, just go over the whole thing, okay, with this wash. It's going to change the overall harmony of it slightly, but you can wipe it out where you want the highlights to be. You can slightly wipe it out so those highlights will return, but at least that wash will go into those little pockets of white, and you'll get rid of that contrast. Okay. Other than that, I mean, you're going to be going in with a fine. Otherwise, you have to go in with a fine brush and line these things out, you know, and
Thomas.
try to get rid of those things.
Thomas.
Yes.
I think it kind of looks like it's a fabric, and that's stitching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got that texture.
It's almost like a tapestry, and it's got shapes stitched onto it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a matter of whatever you want to do with it. I would be careful though that you don't have the same values of things happening that are too bright. Okay. I would make one the most bright, then another one, then the other one. You know, so less importance. Okay. Right now they're all chalky and like a really high key value of like 8.5, 9. Okay, your highlights are all the same. So I'd be careful with that. But in glazing something and toning it down, you're going to eliminate the strength of each one of those values, but it'll make it easier for you to decide which one's going to be the most important. Therefore, the lightest or brightest contrast will happen. But you've got to tone them down a little bit there.
Right, thank you very much.
Okay.
That's very
nice
helpful.
work. Nice work. Thank you for your effort.
Thank you.
A for effort. Or is that E? A-E-I. Oh, okay. Jovian?
Yeah.
Hi. Thank
Hi.
you for sending this. You were like the first one to send in. Thank you. Look at that. That's beautiful. You did very nice on that. Just got some poetry to it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Some softness. There's softness.
Yeah, it looks, I think when I'm working on stuff, I'm going to take a photo
Yeah.
to look at, because it really, I can see different things on the photo than I can when I look at the actual thing. And it looks a lot softer.
It does. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, so as an exercise, this worked. You've got a wide range of values going on in there. And I guess this is the color of the paper. Was it white or was it tan?
It was white. So I had a little bit, I just used a graphite pencil, and then I used a blending stick a lot.
Okay.
So for the lighter colors, I colored it in with the blending stick.
Got it. Okay. I like how you went up into the armature like that. That was fun. And you could have continued to do that throughout the entire picture. You could have, if you so chose, you could have gone and done it maybe here. Oh, wait, still not dark enough. I've got to go tanner and thin this out here. So yeah, you could have tanned one of these or one of these. You could you could do anything, and then you could do the background of tone as well. There's no reason why you can't slightly adjust those and have fun with the armatures, you know, more fun.
Cool.
We call for more fun here. That way you don't have to erase them.
Yeah.
It's like a sunburst or a starburst or something like that. You'll see that there are artists that do that. They're huge, huge crowd out there. Now, be careful when you're photographing something that you you don't get your shadow in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll learn. I mean, it's fine. I gotta say something that's negative, or not negative, but dark. So, yeah, just be really mindful. Photographing art is an art in itself. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and let's see. I did that one. I think I got through everybody here.
Did you show mine? I'm
Oh.
late, behind.
Yeah.
Excuse.
Oh wait,
Thomas,
Nina. Yeah.
yeah, you haven't done my Picasso.
All right. Do you see it here, Nina?
I think it's right here. It's got NDB in the left corner. I think it's above those gray fruits. It's one right above it, I think.
Not that one. Wait. Hold on.
It
Above
does
the big
have
fruits.
NDB.
Okay. Okay. Is it this one? No, that's Alice.
Looks like that, but it's not that one.
They
It's
all
similar.
look alike.
Yeah, they do. How about this one?
That's Kathy. Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, I thought I'd gone through everybody. There it is.
I sent it. There I am.
There
That's
it is.
me.
Okay. All right. Nice color. Nice color. There's, you know, if anything, if you know, you've got the design, you get into the idea of the designs in here, and your colors are muted. I really love your color as well. You know, I'm sure I've never seen the original, but I'm sure it's a lot more brilliant. But your color's a little easier on the eyes.
Okay.
So nice color usage here. I'm looking for your armature. Did you use the armature?
I did the generic, and then I painted over it.
Okay, I believe you. I'm just looking for some remnants. You did a good job of covering your tracks. Nicely done.
Oil paint.
Is this oils?
Yes, it is.
Wow, good for you.
And
Did you work? Yeah.
yeah, my lips, the bottom, the lips are wrong, but that's how it came. These colors are how it came out on my printer.
Okay, all right. So you could just take a picture. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. You could have worked from your phone or something.
Yeah, I could have.
Don't rely on your printers. None of us.
Well, I need to do the printer.
I see a little bit of a line there, but okay. Anyway, Nina, thank you for doing this. This is your second time doing this too, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
It
It's
isn't.
my first.
I thought you
I
did.
didn't do it.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to move on. So Dylan.
Thomas?
Yeah. Yes.
This is Ren. We didn't go over mine.
Okay.
I did the Picasso one. It says my name in the bottom left corner.
All right. Do you see it here anywhere?
Go back over.
Nicola. That's Nicola.
Okay. Go down again.
See, yeah. I'm sorry. It's
Okay. Could we zoom into the bottom right one right there?
that one.
That it?
That's Kathy's.
Okay. What about above that?
Nope. Just did that. See, they all look the same, huh?
Yeah. That bottom middle one down.
Bottom middle one. That one there, Alice.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't
I sent it through an email, and I took a photo on my phone.
Okay.
I have it here. I could show it to you through the screen.
Okay. Okay.
That's
And then I'd have to share your. Yeah. Let me go up. Will be a new adventure for me here. So go ahead and bring it up, and then we're gonna go on with Dylan here. Dylan's coming. Okay. So where are you now? Let's see. Ren. There's so many of you here today. That's awesome. All right, Ren, where are you? Hey, and there's Vicky. Vicky, oh, there it is. Okay. All right, so I'm going to spotlight Ren right now. Okay, I'm going to spotlight, and I think we all have to spotlight her, or do I pin it? What do I do? Okay, can everybody see her?
Yeah.
All right. It doesn't come up as big as I would like, but you did a nice job. Why did I not get that, Ren? That's amazing. It looks like the original.
The thing that I especially noticed was that this.
What? Say that again. Uh-oh. You froze, Ren. Everything froze. Tell you what I want you to do, if you wouldn't mind, resend it to me, and then we will we'll bring it up at the end of the class, because it just froze for a good 10 seconds there. I'm sorry about that.
Tom, you don't have mine either. This is Sandy.
Sandy. When did you...
I sent it to you pretty early on, and I know you got it because you answered me.
Okay.
But if you want to just send me
Can
comments,
we do it at the end of the class? I'll bring you up a special. I'll bring you up a special. We're about to do for a break. I'll tell you what, why don't we take a 5-minute break, and I'll bring both of you guys up. Let's everybody take a 5-minute break. I'll bring them up, and then we'll move on with we'll do Dylan's and both of yours, and then we got a big class. Okay? All right. I'm gonna go try to find you again. I'm gonna bring you up here. Stand by, Sandy. Stand by, Ren. Okay, turns influence and mail. All right, inbox. Hey, Ren, what is your email address? I can't. This is Adventures in. Okay.
Adventures
in
We're on a 5-minute break here.
My email is w.ficaros.
Yes. Okay. So I'm looking at my email right now, and I don't see it here. This is, and you sent it to my thing. Yeah, I'm not seeing it, Ren. I see your emails. I've got them all up here. Can you resend it to me? If you can do that, go ahead and resend it, and I'll bring it up. Where are you right now?
Okay,
Ren?
I'll try resending.
Yeah, go ahead, just resend it. Okay, and then we're gonna do Dylan next, and then State.
I'm at home.
Okay, where is home? Stacy. Wait, not Stacy. Sandra Russell, right? All right, Russell. Here we go, Sandra Russell. All right, homework for Monday. There it is. Oh, wait, I did bring it up earlier, but you weren't here.
Me?
Yeah, Sandra. Wait, so you sent me a Picasso too? Sandra? Here we go. There it is. All right. Here we go. There's Sandy. Okay. So we'll deal with Sandy, and then we'll deal with Ren. As soon as you send it to me, Ren, I'll bring it up.
Okay. I did send it to you now. See if you got it.
All right. I'm checking my inbox now. Here it is. Wow, that was quick.
Okay, good. I sent it to the
I
pipeline.
remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. Boy, look at the difference in definition on
Yeah.
that. All right,
It's
so
really
I'll just do one at a time. We'll do this one. There. Okay. All right, so we've got U squared away. All right, and then the last, it's a little bit of a low res on that.
Yeah.
It's not.
The
really,
other photo might be better.
okay. All right, stand by. Which one? That one. That looks pretty good right there.
Should I send it when it says I'm sending it on my phone? You can choose what size, like
No,
small.
I just want one image. I don't like to work that hard. I just want it to be a really good image. You know,
Okay.
you do have settings on your phone, I think, that you know, should be a high resolution, low, medium, etc.
Thomas, excuse me. May I ask another question?
Sure, Nina. What's up?
Okay, what is the best way to photograph our renditions? Flat and from above, or standing up against the wall?
I usually do mine against the wall.
Okay,
And,
at eye level, right?
Yeah, well, whatever. Just as long as your images aren't parallaxing. Okay, so like right now I'm looking at Rin's painting and it's parallaxed, right? The edges are not
Yeah, I see that.
perpendicular to the picture plane.
Yeah.
So we just deal with that. So parallaxing is a good term to know.
It is.
Yes. Yeah, so you do your best with that and then hold your camera as still as possible. If you can't, then use a tripod just to guarantee it's going to be held still. But you got to check the sides, you know, make sure there's no, because we want to see an even.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Okay. Are we back? Is everybody back? Let's just do this. We're going to do Rin, Sandra Russell, and then and Dylan. We'll wind up with Dylan. Dylan, you're still here, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so you didn't do a Picasso, but you did your still lifes. I've got 3.
Yeah, I missed last week's class and I didn't know what the assignment was, so I'm a week behind.
Okay, I did send it out, so check your emails. I sent it out like right after the class, the homework assignment.
Okay, I didn't get it. I'll look again.
Okay, all right. So we'll do you next because you sent in your still lifes, and that's totally cool. All right, So Rin, since I have you up here first, I can't really see if you did an armature, but I trust that you did because everything looks to be in place.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So good. You learned a lot. I like your colors. Your color matching is good. Now yours, the farther away you get from something, the more you might realize that it's an actual graphic representation like of the hand. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can see this.
I realized it was a hand, but I didn't realize like what the blue and the balloon type things were. But a book makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't really paid too much attention to this thing other than today. You know, I haven't studied and thought it might be a book, you know, until today. So I find it's just interesting and it's playful. There's lightness to it.
Yeah.
And who knows the workings of the mind better than Picasso.
Right.
I'm looking at this, how he broke rules by having tangents come together here, okay, or how you did there, and then how things all come together. He really wants you to, he directs your eye almost via tangents. And that means contour lines coming into alignment with other ones deliberately flattening the space or creating an ambiguity of depth on a two-dimensional surface. So this is good. It was a good study. You can draw and you can paint and you can have fun. What happened down here on the bottom right?
Yeah, I dropped the paintbrush.
Okay. Well, you made it your own then. You made it. It actually improves the painting.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I was kind of bummed, but
accidents happen.
Yeah.
So you can paint over that though if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Okay. All right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, Sandy. That's a nice
I'm back.
representation, Sandy. Nice and clear, nice and clean. You have a really, how did you do this? Did you scan it or did you shoot it with a nice camera?
I shot it with an iPhone.
An
From
iPhone?
a distance and then cropped it.
Okay. All right. Nicely done. Do you do Photoshop?
I do, but I didn't do it on this one.
Okay. All right. So I'm looking at it and you used watercolors. What's the size of this?
About 8 by 10.
Okay. So it all fit together. So it's fun.
Yeah, and I didn't, you don't see an armature because I made one on tracing paper and just, actually I used it underneath my paper, but
Okay.
also I made a generic armature in Illustrator and
Okay.
and now able to put it over any picture.
Yay. Nicely done. Nicely done. You know, you're going to, I think it's today, you're going to see something today. There's a guy out there, I can't remember his name because it's a very strange name, but you can buy these little armatures, these variations of armatures to stick on your camera or to download, which is what I've been doing, download on them and superimpose them just right over your screen as you take these pictures. So, your own pictures, or you can study a masterwork and you can see the varying armatures over those masterworks. So you'll see a little bit of that today, and that's good. And you use tracing paper like an illustrator would do. So were you an illustrator?
No, but I'm taking Sylvia's class and she was, and so
okay.
She's she talks about it, and
okay.
I found that it's helpful for me.
Okay. All right. The last thing I'll say, I'm looking at his at the original, okay, right now, and he's a little more on the original, a little more intense with his colors. I'm just speaking out loud. I'm just comparing right now what I see on the original, and you know, and okay. One of the last things I'll say is, if you really want to direct the viewer's eye to say this is his focal point, or the eyes, which in most portraits, the eyes have it, and the eyes have a certain value. They're like light, okay? They're lighter and they're like light. If you want to glaze things and make them slightly darker surrounding that area, okay, that'll make it a more profound focal point. I'm seeing that his image doesn't have that light of a value next to where the eyes are. It's actually a darker value. So,
well, the one that I took a screenshot of was different from what was on what I found on the web.
Okay.
So yeah, I just went with yours, but
okay.
So the color variations were different depending on the photograph of the painting.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so here's the thing. I did a painting. I found a masterwork, and I ripped off the color scheme of this masterwork. I mixed my palette up. I went out and I painted this painting under moonlight, based on the color scheme that I found in a book. Okay, the painting sold, and also I got a commission by the guy who bought it to paint a large, like 6 foot by 6 foot by 7 foot variation of it. Okay, so I did it, and it came out amazing, right? This moonlit seascape, massive. And then after that was done, and he's hung it on his wall with a beautiful gilded frame, I went down to the art museum in Laguna Beach and saw the original painting that I was represented in the book, and whose color schemes I took to, you know, create my work. And it was not even close to what I had done. So books, computers, everything influences us to see things that we're looking at, and they may not, unless you're standing in the presence of the original, you may not be getting the correct interpretation or the accurate interpretation. So Now,
yeah, I really like some of the other people's interpretations that have much more purple in the in the bottom part.
Yep. I agree.
Thomas,
Yes.
what I did, I looked at the different pictures of the original.
Okay.
And I took the color scheme of the painting that the guy who found the painting was sitting next to, because I figured his coloring was correct.
Yeah.
And so I thought that the painting that he was sitting right next to would be more accurate than the others.
You would hope, but there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. I mean, that's why in the past, and you hardly hear this anymore, museums allowing artists to go in and work from the originals. You'd see them set up their easels in the museum, painting from the originals.
Right.
That was so they could study the original and not work, depend on a 4-color press that might have faded or, had too much cyan in it or whatever. So, all right. So any chance you get to study an original, do it. Okay. All right. Onward. Last one is I'm going to do a new share here, and then we're going to move on. We got to get this class on the road. All right. So we're going to go back to here. This is Dylan. Dylan's bringing up the rear here, and thank you very much for spending time and creating these poems. What does that say, Dylan?
It says poire, 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 pum.
Palm means apple?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
basically plum and apple and pear.
Palm and apple and pear. All right, so that's nice. You had fun with this.
Yeah, I wanted to also carry forward the texture assignment and play with that.
Yeah, I love this. I love that.
Yeah, the apple's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It's the most bubbly apple I've ever seen. Yeah, so that's great. You took that assignment of doing all those textures and applied the variations to this assignment. So that was a good. You were getting in the neighborhood and you were doodling.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next interpretation here, and here is that. So it's a continuation of that using pointillism and some hatching and cross hatching and some squiggly lines and back in the background here. See, you could have taken that right there in the background and done that assignment, the next assignment here. See how you did that?
Yeah. Okay.
It might have driven you nuts, but that's you're already on track for the next homework assignment.
Perfect.
But this is really beautiful. What you did. It looks so mastery.
I invested a lot of time.
Yes, you did, and it shows. And then let's show your painting. Look at that. Look at that. Sometimes I can't tell if these are originals or masterworks or student copies of masters.
Well, that's a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah. Your colors are holding together well. There's a nice painterly quality to it. Look at the underpainting showing through. It's very sketchy. I don't mean sketchy. I mean it's got a sketchy quality to it, and there's a lightness to it. And I think that's huge. Look at this. It looks almost like on this bottom corner right here, it looks like Rembrandt came to town. Not Rembrandt, what's his name? The other French Impressionist, Monet's buddy. Oh gosh. It's too early for my brain to be going here.
I think the big difference
Renoir.
I think the big difference has been the pandemic and not working anymore and just having time to have this be a bigger chunk of my life, and I'm no longer a dancer, and it's the time for the artist within.
Yeah.
Thank you for witnessing.
Sure. So Renoir, pay attention to that, okay?
Yeah.
If I point something out, take a look at Renoir, because there's things that are coming through that just stay willing to experiment. Okay,
I spent a whole year in Paris when I was 19 to 20
Okay.
in all of the museums. Like
All right.
it's there, but I think it'd be good to revisit it.
Okay. All right.
Beautiful. Whose is that?
This was from last week, right? We already did this one?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, you got your Baroque and your Sinister and your center lines. I don't know who this is, but again, I'm very happy. Very happy. This looks like a pastel. All right. So if nobody's claiming that, we are going to move on.
That's Lola. I got my name in a green highlight next to it where you're there.
Oh,
you
over
go.
there. Oh, look. Sorry, I
I
skipped.
print them up and put them in my binder, so I hole punch all my work.
Why not?
It's
now,
studies.
Is it pastel? Is it pastel?
It's pastel. I had a lot of fun doing that, and the back table line was not even in
No, it wasn't.
original work, so
No.
I see where I, went wrong, but it was fun.
Yeah. Good.
It was a better picture than the one I sent you last week, so you already did a crit
All
on
right.
it.
Okay. Last thing, do you spray fix it after this?
I did, and my fixative bottle is broken, so I used hairspray.
Oh, well, that works. Sure.
It does.
An aerosol.
That's what poor art students did back in the day.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, thank you, Lola. Okay, everybody, that was good. That was a lot of homework to go through, and now we got to move on with the class because time is of the essence, and we just got to keep moving here. All right. So I'm going to shrink this down. I'm going to get a new share coming up here. All right. So you should see my my laptop. I'm going to get rid of this, and we are moving on. Cancel. And all right, we've got R2, 4, 5. There we go. All right. Okay, we are on design day 4. Okay, open recent.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The Hilma Af Clint
Yes.
link you sent us.
Yes.
Well, I love her as an artist, but were we supposed to do anything with it
Nope.
or just
Nope.
look at
Nope.
her?
Nope. If you're going to do something, I will actually explain it. I just put it down there. I can only teach you so much in a short period of time. So I'm just planting seeds. Like at the end of this class, you're going to get a whole bunch of opportunities to delve into other things. If you want, you don't have to. It's just I need to just kind of give you directions to spend some of your time rather in front of the TV. Go online and drop it into Google, and then bring it up and expose yourself to it. All right.
Thank you. I really appreciated it and seeing her artwork.
I thank you. Me too. I didn't know anything about her until I started teaching this course a year ago. So
I highly recommend her book. You can get a book. She was at the Guggenheim that, and I invested in it. For those interested in it, I'd highly recommend it. It has her philosophy and her life journey. It's very, very good.
excellent.
Cool.
Right.
Thank you.
So here we start off today's class here. You'll hear me say this a lot. The direction you are facing has much to do with your destination. This doesn't necessarily, this is not what I mean, but I just thought it was a humorous approach to it. Okay, we went through the homework. Oh, by the way, whose is this? Anybody?
Wonderful, whoever it is.
Is it, who is it?
Vale.
Vale. Hey, Vale, we didn't go over this one last time, so I wanted to just, I put it right on the page just so we acknowledge that you did it, and it's beautiful color. I love the color that you used, and it's got a nice brushy, painterly quality to it. It looks like you put color on and scraped it off. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got some technique you're experimenting with. You're developing. It's called surface development. Anyways, it's nice and rich, and I just wanted to acknowledge that you did do it, and I didn't cover it last week, and so here it is for all to see.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's happy, it's rich. So nice job, Vale. Okay, another thing is, Kurt, you there, buddy? You there, Kurt?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you asked about the value of red glass, and in the very first class we covered this. The reason why you might want to keep a piece of red glass or red acetate as one of your tools is, especially when you're learning value, is so you can start seeing, instead of just pure color, see them and identify them and interpret them for the value that they are. So the red glass does this. Let's see, wait. Red glass does, I carry a red and a green glass, okay, with me. The red glass takes away the chroma, okay, and so it leaves the values, much like the notan, okay, a 2 or 3 or 4 value notan. And then the green glass helps you to see warm and cool temperature. So when you have the image like this, you can put the red glass in front and you can see how it desaturates and just gives you the simplified value patterns of things coming together. Your darkest values, okay, mid values, lighter values. So it depersonalizes things, helps you to see things in a simplified way. So the structure of your composition, if you have an awareness of value, will hold together, okay? And this is what the green does here. So it cools things down. All right, it doesn't really tie things together so much other than in temperature. You can see, you know, your lighter values would be the cooler colors, okay? So there you go. I hope that helps a little bit. A little bit?
It does. Blue glass wouldn't do what a red glass does?
No. No, I don't.
Something about the color red that achieves what you're talking about?
I think so. I think it unifies things. The blue would still unify things as well, but it has something to do, I think, with the color spectrum.
Okay.
Wavelengths, yeah. So, and it can be mathematically, I thought you'd like me to use that word. The algorithms and the mathematical equations can be quantified by people like you. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Always keep a piece of red glass with you. Okay? All right, so now we move on. All right, the generic armature, I just wanted to hammer in the reason why you do the armature is just to give you options for placement of focal points and edges coming together. And wherever those focal points might be, okay, you can have vertical lines running through them and or horizontal lines running through them. So you see the generic armature can be either vertical or horizontal. Any armature can be used vertical or horizontal. But the idea is you can draw these vertices through any intersection. And then where those cross certain meridians, you can draw another horizontal line there. And where those cross, you can draw another vertical or horizontal line there. So every time it crosses, it gets crazy. And here's an example, okay? In dynamic symmetry, this is a Van Gogh painting that was stolen, I think last year. And I think it was recovered as well. So I thought, oh, look at that. Look at the shape of that format. Let's see what he did. So I did my armatures on it. I'm using my iPad to do this, okay? So I did my Baroque and my Sinister here. I did a square, and then I believe I did a Baroque diagonal to that square with a string, and I drew it down here. The whole idea is for me to find out where he would draw his lines or where he would put his shapes in alignment with these armatures here. So here's another armature that I superimposed over it, so you can see basically he's doing the same thing here. You've got your Baroque and your Sinister. He does a reciprocal line here. Reciprocal was 90 degrees to the Baroque, okay, and then drawing a line up, and you can see he ends his trees there, and vice versa. Off of the Baroque on this side is 90-degree angle, okay, a reciprocal coming down to there, drawing a line down here, and look at where the woman, the figure is placed. Okay, now, this is how crazy it can get. This is me with way too much time on my hands. And I sat there and I did everything, the Baroques, the reciprocals, all the armatures, the vertices, and every time they crossed each other, I drew another line and another line and another line and another line. And I could see where there was placement, where all the shapes came together, like the trees over here. You could see, if we zoom in on them, you can see how all the trees are placed in and along these vertices here. Okay, they just were not necessarily placed sporadically. Okay, there was a meaning to everything that was placed. All right, now that leads me.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a you may have said this in another class, but I don't recall if you did. Did these guys draw out their armature, or were they more like your friend that is really good at painting and they just felt it? Like, I'm wondering if this kind of thing like would come naturally to people.
Not until they're exposed to it.
Okay.
Once they're exposed to it, it makes sense, and then it comes naturally. So how's that?
Okay.
Larry,
well, I mean, it just seems like it seems like we have an innate sense of what's righteous or something.
Yeah. No. When you see Larry's work, you'll see. I mean, he's 75, and he's been drawing since he was a child, and he knows what works and what doesn't. But he hasn't seen these armatures, like I said. But they used to teach this in school. All right, this used to be part of design work. You learn how to do these armatures in order to improve upon your compositions. So that's what I'm doing here for you guys. I'm showing you the formatting, different ways of looking at things. You can draw these armatures in all directions and flip them and go vertical, and they're all going to work. And they can get really crazy. And for scientists, or not scientists, more engineers, but master painters do know these, and we're taught these. They're not taught these days. This was a part of the traditional way of going about learning to draw. So you remember we did these, right? The difference between the root rectangles.
Could you just briefly go over that where we were doing the string and the pencil thing? I didn't quite get the golden
right, so
section.
for a root rectangle, everything always starts off with the square. Okay.
Okay.
Right, the square. Okay, for a root rectangle, this is the phi. This is the phi, the golden rectangle. This is the golden section or golden rectangle here. If you divide a square in half and you bring the string up to one corner and you arc it down and you draw another line up, the proportions here is 1.618, okay, which is the golden mean or the golden section or the phi. They're all the same. This is the perfect rectangle. Okay, we'll go over this today. I mean, you're gonna see it again.
May I ask a question?
Wait. I gotta keep talking here.
Okay.
Obviously, and then with a square, to get a root rectangle, this is a root 1 or square root of 1 here. Diagonal, here you arc it down, draw a line up, and complete it, and you got yourself a root 2. And every time you draw a diagonal to the corner and arc it down, that becomes a root 3, root 4, root 5, okay? And watch this. Okay, this is another way of looking at it here. Wait, let me shrink this down, okay? So you can see how it happens. You can create your own perfect rectangles if you know how to how to do this, okay? You can just cut them on boards, or you can do them with canvases, etc. And when you work this way, at least now you can draw your diagonals and your rules of thirds and your horizontal and vertical vertices and your armatures. You can do them all and stand a better chance of having your shapes coordinate with each other and have a better representation on a two-dimensional surface. So this is a Ralph Waterhouse painting right here, okay? And he bought this here. This is like a 35 by 72, something like that format. So I had a student who had this program on her computer, and she did this for me, right? She made this the square root here, divided it in half, diagonal, came down here. She just kept doing it, and it wound up coming out to a root 7, okay, root 7. So she only drew a diagonal to here. I wish she'd done it all the way over to the edge here, because then you would have found out that maybe he didn't even know about this after I showed it to him. But he could have probably had a better better composition had he paid attention to these lines here. But anyway, Nina, did you have one question? Okay. All right. So here's an example here of an artwork, a vertical here. This is a golden section. And with it's not a generic armature, it's a more golden section armature.
Could you just outline the golden section, where that is?
Well, you take the square. I'll just use my cursor. Or
okay.
Actually, I'll annotate it here. You always start off with a square. All right, so wherever the square is, like so, you draw a line, right? You divide the square in two.
Okay.
It's probably here, okay?
Yeah.
And then you draw from that midpoint to that top section, okay? And then you arc it down.
Okay.
And everywhere, every line, even that arc crosses, what I mean by lines, these lines here, or any of these lines that an arc would cross, that can become a horizontal or vertical vertice that you can align any of your contour shapes within the composition. Okay. All right. This is another example of dividing the rectangles up in space. Okay. This is an example of the figurative work. I try to get people in my figure drawing class to, when they see the model posing, to imagine the model within a format. You know, their paper might be this big surrounding the format, but I'm trying to get them to see, you know, if they were to enclose the model, they have a better chance of creating an interesting design where the model fits within a smaller format, but it's not floating in space, or it has a wide, you know, or variations of negative space surrounding it. Okay, so these are all, again, working with the Baroque and the Sinister and the dividing points, and everywhere that these lines would meet, you can line things up. Okay, you're not expected to know this. I'm just trying to defend my case here. This is the these are the same things. All 6 of these on the left, if I turn it on the side, they repeat. Okay, and then you can reverse them. You can reverse them. So this takes some mathematics. And Kurt, I'm going to enjoy looking at what you do with these, and if you can follow their leads. It's pretty wonky. This is the golden. This is the Fibonacci. Okay, the Fibonacci spiral. Okay, for the golden mean. And I wanted you to just see this, because I'm going to show you something, how it can be utilized in compositions and flipped in any direction. It's just how you use it in deciding what your composition is going to be to get things to work together. Here's another example there. I took these two here and I just flipped them. just so you can see the spirals happening over and over again, horizontally and vertically. And that's it. And now we're going to move on. Any questions on that?
It reminds me of the fractals in like a plant, you know,
that's
like
exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Bingo. Okay. All right. Now,
Thomas,
yes.
Thomas, doesn't Fibonacci have it's like oh, what would you call it? A mathematical equation that goes on and on and on.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's
Same
one
person.
I think it's 1.618. Over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
All right.
He was a mathematician.
Yes, it's 1 plus the square root of 5, all divided by 2.
Oh, geez, thank you.
And how does that come out? 1.618?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, you took it to the next level. You better send me that, Kurt.
All right, I will.
That was very impressive, sir. Very impressive. Okay, so I put this together. So we've been exploring some still life designs in the second class, and one of the things that I wanted to show you was there's a handful of designs that most artists know about, most professional artists know about when they're composing their still lifes. They're paying attention to, obviously, this is the grid pattern, the 3-3 grid pattern. The wider the formatting, okay, it could go 3-4, 3-5, whatever. But again, remember these intersections here, setting up a still life. But now I want you to start paying attention to what's called framing the model. Okay, framing the model. Let's see. Stand by. Okay, these are the do's and don'ts of still life design. Things you want to pay attention to when you're designing here. This is called a redundancy of line here. Okay, redundancy of shape. That's a don't. All right. Here, you don't want to design your still life so they hit the bottom or the top or the side of the picture plane and they flatten out. This is called a tangent right here. When two lines of your design come together equally and you don't know which one is which one's coming forward, which one's back, whatever. You just want to avoid tangents. You want to have them overlap, have the shapes overlap. This is an example too of, it's very close. There's some tension there. So again, you want to just overlap as best as possible to the best of your ability. All right, this is called framing the composition. So you've got your format. You know you're going to set out some designs for still life, and you're going to want to pay attention to the imaginary line. This is when you use your Tibetan measuring stick or your brush or your pencil, and you hold it out there trying to find the relationship and angle from one contour and point to another. Okay, you frame it and you put that frame down within your format so you can make sure all your shapes are going to fit within that frame. So it's a little light line, but it's just going to guarantee that everything's going to fall together here. Okay. All right. These are the different still life arrangements. Here they are on one page. There's 7 groupings. You might want to pay attention to these. You got a triangular grouping, which we've been exploring the triangle. You got a square composition, what they call a circular grouping. Objects associated by use is content. You can have a triangular. This could be an objects associated by use. Any one of these could have a variety of all of them together as well. Objects contrasting in form. Okay, objects contrasting in size, and then margin lines cutting objects. Okay, here's your triangular grouping. 3 areas of interest. Okay, it forms a triangle within the format. And then it's your job to say, okay, well, where do I want the viewer's eye to go first, second, and third? So if you squint your eyes at the bottom here and there's a value study going on, you can see that the area of most contrast is right here. So that would be your focal point. So then you got to say, okay, what's drawing my eye next? The eye kind of goes down over to here, to this, and then over to here. Okay, odd numbers as well. Remember we did the odd number compositions, odd number elements. Okay, now here we've got two simplified triangular compositions. Okay, moving the eye around, but there's a hierarchy again, where you want the viewer's eye to go first, second, and third. It's all grouped within that triangle. Okay, here's another example of a Cézanne on the right, and then some realist painter. This is amazing. The realism is just phenomenal. Look at how he gets that softness there. Okay, but the overall pattern is what you're looking at, the grouping. Okay, here's a square composition. So Van Gogh, okay, studying square still life composition here. This is a little more ornate, just a little bit. You might have a triangle in here as well, though. Okay, but overall, they're pretty close into a square. You can fit them all within a square within a square. A square within a square. Another square. So you're paying attention to your shapes, the grouping of shapes, and how they fit within the format. This is more of a vertical square, which is amplifying the shapes of the subject matter. The subject matter is vertical. And when you put them together, they're more square vertical. So this is not a perfect square. It's more of a vertical square, more vertical thrust to it. All right, here's a circular compositions here, where you look somewhere here, we go up to there, and then back and around. So the eye just moves kind of in a circle. These are all circles within circles, or ellipses within circles. Okay, your eye's moving around. Notice how the plate is cut off here, or this shadow is cut off here, or this plate runs off the side there. And conversely, let's go back over to the other side, how there's a kind of a not a tangent, but the tension that's here, and how he's cut off the shapes on the right and on the left. So that adds a certain level of dynamic quality of movement into a painting when you have something run off the page like that. Okay, here's Van Gogh on the left with a circular composition. Notice also he's magnifying the movement by the directional marks of his paint. This is like the doodling that you were doing. He's using patterns to move the viewer's eye around the painting. And he's leaving this negative space in here so you can kind of come in and involve yourself within the composition. This is more of a contemporary painting here. Beautiful paint quality to it. And a circle within the squarish format. Your eyes moving around. A lot of palette knife use here. You can see the palette knife going on here. Okay, objects associated by use. Okay, these are still lifes just using common everyday objects here. And notice how they run off the edge here, and off the edge here, and off the edge here. Okay, these are not running off the edge. These are anchored into the format by placing them on a table. Highly realistic. So you have a lot of patterns going on within the composition here. Okay, and it's balanced out by simplified pattern here, and then the background is nice and simple. No patterns. Almost looks like it was airbrushed, and it could very well have been. Okay, objects contrasting in form. All right, so contrasting in form, right? We've got different types of fruit here, cloth here, and a skull. And it looks like, I don't know what those are, feathers. I don't know what they are, but it could be a death shroud or something. I have no idea. Contrasting in form here, a cup and fruit. But always look at the placement, where they fall within the format. Okay? If you were to do an armature on these, where would they fall? Here's a Picasso on the right. This is an unknown artist to me. I don't know who this is, but there's a lot going on in this painting. Almost too much for me.
Yeah.
You know, you can see it gets busy, right? So, and you got to squint your eyes and say, oh, where do I want to go? There's so much contrast here, and then here, and then there's all this. I mean, this could have been more useful, I think, if it were cropped. So let's look at Picasso. Look at how he moves your eye around, you know, with this line. Lines up here. Nice negative space in here. Look at how he ends the candle right at that line right there. Oh boy, he's a brave guy. Okay, contrasting in form again. This is a value study. Light, dark, turning, you know, something abstract. These are just regular, except for the milk carton, you know, just shapes that we draw in nature: cubes, cones, cylinders, and spheres. Look at the beautiful reflected light in here. Okay, which makes this come forward here. So nice value study going on here. And I think the last one, contrasting in size. Okay, different sizes, subject matter. So when you do still life painting, because they say it's the best way to learn design, you have parameters. You know, you can have all of these happening in the same format or the same subject matter, or you can have just one. Okay, but now that you know that there's armatures that happen, it's going to be a little easier to compose where your shapes go. Okay. All right. All right. And then this is the last one here. So you'll see composing something so shapes run off the page, like over here to the right. They run off the page. Creates a little bit of mystery as well. This is a phenomenal painting.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe it's even a painting. Beautiful, beautiful rendering.
Who was the artist, and when did the photorealism begin to emerge?
Photorealism?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. You know, that's a good question. I just know that one of the movements in art that I'd like you to study is genre painting in the 19th century, because it was a fairly realistic way of interpreting common everyday life. It wasn't necessarily photorealism, but there were elements of that going on at that time. But the movement of photorealism was, you know, invented when photography was invented. So
in a way, it tries to revisit what the masters did, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
And to take it just a step farther with modern technology.
Yeah. This beautiful placement. Notice 3 sides cutting the edge, or running off the edges. Okay. And this is a real simplified subject. It's a higher art to take something that's mundane and make something beautiful out of it. So the way this artist did it is by, you know, cropping it, using color, secondaries and primaries juxtaposed, and a paint quality. You know, a lot of impasto. And then maintaining an awareness of focal point and proximity of, the armatures. Be fun to do an armature study on this. Okay, it would be fun.
That's not blood on those scissors, is it?
I'm not going to go there, Kurt. Too close to the election. Sorry.
Just wondering.
Yeah. Now here's your photorealism, Dylan. This is another example of taking everyday subject matter and taking a photo of it, although they might have had this sitting in front of them, and enhancing the colors and using color to make it more interesting. Here, look at, these are other light bulbs out here. You can see the drawings, like the value studies or the pattern first.
I love the images within with the reflections within. Now he played with that. Just wonderful.
Yeah.
I put
It's amazing. And this is a watercolor.
Amazing.
So,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
just beautiful.
Just,
Okay. All right. All right. So that's that. Hold on. Okay.
When we get your video, or after the class, will it also show all these things?
Yes. Yeah.
Things?
We're being recorded right now. So.
Okay.
Okay. So we did the still life designs now. All right. So remember last week we watched this video on the triangle, the stem triangle. All right. You can all see this, right? Yes. So he referenced Cezanne and his use of the triangle within the format. Okay, so I just put together just a handful of his landscapes where he repeated that form. Remember the guy did the demo with the big charcoal and the mountainscape. He was trying to give you an example of what how that stem worked. So this is the triangle stem that Cezanne repeated many times in his compositions. Notice the format. Notice where he wants your eye to go. Notice where all the shapes are. Now that you know that there's armatures afoot, we're good to go. Is Tim here? Tim? I guess not. Tim exposed me to something that's coming up here, which you're going to see. All right, this is another. This is a what is this? This is a Gauguin, I think. No, a Cezanne. This is a Cezanne triangular composition. You can just see the triangle within here. Okay, Battle of Love. Here's a Cezanne again, and a Matisse. Kind of repeating the subject matter. Matisse was influenced by Cezanne in this, but they're holding together from these same principles, the triangle stem. All right, repeating the content. I just threw this in here because I was up at the Valley Club last year, and this is a Millard Sheets. This is from the 1950s. Millard Sheets was influenced by the modernist movement, but you can still you can see the triangle happening within the painting. Okay, triangles. And the last one, this is Pete Mondrian. Okay, painter from the 1920s and 30s. And you can see the triangle foundation. It's all about doing foundation work and then supporting that. One more Cezanne. Okay, triangle. And let's see. Okay, so this was a painting that Tim had mentioned, this show here, and I'm not going to click on it because we don't really have the time. This was a show that he saw where he saw that the paintings that the watercolors that Cezanne had done seemed kind of washed out. So I clicked on it, and this was the image in the catalog. So you can see, yeah, they're a little bit washed out, but look at the structure. Okay, look at the structure. First, look at the format. Look at this big negative space here. Look at these shapes here. So I did an armature on it. I used the camera lucida, and I took a photograph of it. And let's see. All right, and this was the first armature that came through. So I'm seeing how things line up within that format. So this guy knew what he was doing. He knew the structure. All right, there it is again. And then I did the Fibonacci on it. Okay, so you can see how, things line up here. He's got, look at that beautiful line right there. And then it comes around, and then it comes into here and keeps going into here, here, here. The golden rectangle. Right, here it is when I reversed it. Okay, so I'm just planting the seeds that when you move on from here, that when you do your designing, that you take into consideration the notional space of whatever rectangle it is that you're working on, or square, and then what is the armature to it, and then how can you get your shapes to be redesigned and reconfigured so they have a more aesthetic aesthetic appearance.
Well,
Okay?
he started with a canvas that was the golden mean ratio.
That's correct. That's correct, sir. Yes, many of those artists did. I think Surratt, I think it was Surratt who, he would not work on anything other than the golden mean, because he wanted to start with perfection. So it influenced him everywhere he went. All right, now I'm going to just give you, we're going to take a little tangent here. I'm going to try to give you some structure on when you're drawing and painting from photographs, you're doing landscapes or even still lifes. And we're going to, it's a way of presenting your design. So there's hierarchy, okay? Hierarchy to where we're going.
Hey everyone, Psychriasin here, and in this composition lesson, I'm going to be covering leading the eye. So what do I mean by that? Well, here we have a blank image. So when you look at this, your eye doesn't have anything to focus on. And in image making, one of the useful tricks or techniques is to control the viewer's eye so they stay on the page. You don't want the viewer to be looking off the page. You want them to stay on the page. And in this image, because it's blank, our eye doesn't know where to focus. So we might look off the page, we might look on the page, but then, you know, our eye might just travel around, and that's not good for composition's sake. Now, probably the most basic way of keeping the viewer's eye on the page is to do something like this, which is to frame the image. So what's going on now is that pretty much all the edges, it's like a border, and it's darker around the edges. So what your eye does is it goes towards the middle, right? Because this area is more light.
It's like vignetting.
So it naturally is going to keep your eye on the page. Now your eye isn't really going anywhere. You're not traveling around the image, but you're staying on the page. Now here's another example. And instead of uniformly darkening all the edges, what I've done is created more like a little bit like a spotlight. So in this image, you definitely look at this area, at least I do. So if you're looking, if this is the whole image, then you're only going to focus here. And that's good. That's what we want, is in this case, is to keep the viewer's eye where you want it to go. And this was something, when I first learned about this, I felt it was really cool, because I didn't know I had that control, that, hey, I can make someone else look where I want them to look in my image. I don't have to tell them anything. I don't have to say, hey, look here. If I just arrange the composition in the right way, then they will almost have to look where I want them to look. So here what I've done is I've put an arrow in. And now, even though before our eye was focused here, with the symbol, the arrow, our eye now wants to go here and go off the page. And usually you don't want the eye to go off the page, but I'm just trying to demonstrate how things like this, symbols, can override this kind of subtle value change to keep your eye on the page. So where this comes into practical use is, let's say you had a figure, and this was, I don't know, let's say it's a sword or something, and you got this guy and he's holding a sword, then maybe if you want the eye to stay on the page, this isn't the best way to do it, because now your eye wants to go off the page. So here's another thing. So here we had an arrow before, and it makes your eye want to go off here, right, to the left. But now, at least for me, my eye wants to go this way, off the page to the right. And that's because we have the most powerful symbol for humans, which is a human face, and especially the eyes. So wherever the eyes are looking, it's very difficult for us not to look in that same direction. It's just, you know, hardwired into our psychology, is to follow other people's eyes. So this is also very important. If you have an image and you have a person in it and they're looking in a certain direction, just keep in mind that the viewer is going to be drawn towards that direction. It's just like this arrow is getting us to look a certain way. Well, in this case, the eyes are getting us to look in another way. So here's an example of an image I did. I did it in one of the speed painting videos. And I'm using a lot of the techniques to keep your eye on the page. So the obvious one is that I darkened all the corners.
Look at the
So
triangle.
I wants to go to the middle. But there's some other things. So whenever you have straight lines like this, these are all the straight lines, you have to be aware that your eye is going to follow them. They're almost like roads or rivers that are just, they have a current and you want to follow that current, right? So here we have this straight line that makes our eyes want to go down this way and perhaps off the page. But the reason it doesn't is because you've got this, right? So this blade is actually changing the direction. And it's causing the eye to go up. And now it follows the hair, and then it can go up this way, back to the hand, and then down, until the eye is staying on the page. It could go down this feather. Then what's going to happen is there's a shadow on the snow, and that's going to lead the eye back up here, which is going to, again, get you trapped. So this is something that illustrators use a lot, because you want the eye to stay on the page. And you want to point towards the area of the most interest. So in this case, her face, maybe her body. And then everything else should be less detailed or less eye-catching.
Subordinate.
So you have a wolf here, but he's not very detailed in value. And also, he's looking at her. If he was looking off the page, or she, it could be a she-wolf, that would be different. That would be taking your eye off the page. Even these trees, right? They're sort of framing it so that we look in this direction. So pretty much everything in this image is telling your eye, hey, look here. This is where I want you to look. And you can do things with first and second read. So here's another example. And now in this image, when I just look at it, my eye wants to or it doesn't want to, it just immediately goes to these areas. And it's because it's the brightest, it has the most contrast. But then very quickly, I kind of get stuck on her face. So why does that happen? Well, again, the obvious thing is these hands. But actually, I want the viewer to look at the face. So these would be the first read, and this would be the second read. But I want it so that your eye doesn't get off her face. And how did I achieve that? Well, one of the ways, and there's an extremely blatant way, is these arrows. So there's actually an arrow right here. And they're all pointing, and if you follow it, you go straight to her face. So that's I mean, it's pretty sad in a way that resorting to such an obvious gimmick. But yeah, it works, right? So if you looked here, then your eye is going to follow this and then go up and go towards her face. If you look at the hands, what's going to happen is you'll focus on the hands first, but then your eye is going to travel down this way and then go to her face. If you look at this hand, same thing. It's going to go this way, go to her face. If you look at this, it might lead you off the page, but it's actually easier for your eye to go in this direction and then again, go to her face. So anytime you have things like this, where it's pointing, it can be pointing off the page, but if you have something like this, see how it gets darker here? That can change the direction. Come around, back up here. These areas, this closed loop, what that does is, if your eye is trying to get off the page this way, doesn't work. You're led back up here to the face, and again here. So, I mean, it might seem like it's a lot to put into just to keep a viewer's eye on the page, but actually, this is something that illustrators do. And if you look at paintings by Dutch painters, for instance, in particular, guys like Rembrandt, they use techniques like this all the time. So it's a very widely used
practice
or technique in especially illustration, but also in fine art. And it's very powerful to be able to control where someone looks. So it might seem like, you know, sometimes people look at images and they say, you know, I like this image and I don't know why. Might just be because someone is tricking you. So yeah, that's that lesson, or this lesson. I hope it helped. And
all right. These are all little things to help improve your line, your line work and compositions. Having an awareness. For instance, here's an awareness right here. These are great. You see a painting. You're now that you're going to be aware of the Baroque and the Sinister. See if you can figure out what the structure is of the painting itself. So in other words, look how they align the sail here with the Sinister. Or you can place your compositional elements, your whatever is in your picture on those lines. See how it might look, even this fishing pole here. These are kind of simplified versions, and I'm not saying that everybody does them, but you now have a choice of how to make a stronger composition if you do align things in your composition like so. Now, leading lines, just like he was saying in that for illustrators, how they have these ways of keeping the eye on the page. The leading lines are ways of getting the viewer's eye to move into the composition. So like a path or a river or a street or something, those will be leading lines. Okay, look at the alignment here of this curve going down through and aligning with the boat. You wouldn't see it normally, but these are what you would call implied. They're implied diagonals. They're magical. They're there, but you don't see them. Okay. And up before we go on to that, last thing here, lead lines. This is also directional lead lines. Let me see if I can bring this up a little bit better here for you. Okay. So structurally, oh shoot, sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Wait. Let's go to the beginning here. There. All right. Let me get rid of this zoom bar that's blocking my way. So structurally, if you can identify where the viewer's eye is being led into the picture, okay, they're not directional like straight hard lines, but they're shapes and values that are also working together to move you into the composition so you stay there. The more effective it is, the better the painting. You'll be there forever. It almost invites you to move in and through the painting. It'll stay alive forever. This is a Monet composition. You can see the direction lines here of the composition to a focal point. Off in the distance, this cool light. Look at how the design of the tree is trying to get you to move also in that direction. Or this tree here is kind of keeping you from going up and out. Keeps you blocked in. This is another Monet painting. So the edges. So these are the edges. Remember, we've worked with edges here. These are soft edges here, but there's still contrast, and they're moving if it were a graphic shape, it would have an edge that moved you into a focal point to move you somewhere else within the painting. Everything's a directional line. The edges make up this line. And the harder those edges, the more profound or more attractive they'll be to the viewer's eye, and be stronger as far as they're getting you to move into the picture. Another Monet's. It's like a path, you know, it's leading you off into the distance here, leading you off and through, like so. Monet is a good one to study. He studied the Japanese artists of the 19th century, and was totally influenced by their compositional devices here, which is where we're going today. Okay, in this case, the contrast of the shores moving you this way, the contrast of the hills are moving you down this way, and then look at how he's arranged the shapes of the sails, even the colors, to be relatively some more attractive than others, and then scale. Okay, remember we dealt with scale. These things, as they recede away, get smaller and less prominent. Okay, all right, so now this is a little exercise for you, okay? Paintings below, try to identify the leading lines, if any. Observe where the lines take you. If you're not sure, then relax and enjoy the painting. Take note of where your eyes are naturally drawn towards the lines they seem to follow. Okay. Can you see how the lines kind of draw you up and in and through the window? Notice the red, the dash of red here, and this contrast out here. The diagonals are definitely leading us in and through. Here's another one. It's Alfred Sicily. Okay, directional lines. Even the transparent shadows here, they have an edge, but that edge is not so dark that it stops you from going into the distance here. But diagonal lines leading you into the painting. It's another Monet. It's pretty obvious shapes moving off into the distance to keep you going into the painting and not lead you out. He runs the risk of kind of getting you to move off the page here due to the contrast up there. All right. I find myself wanting to take my thumb and put it over this area right here, just to lighten the contrast there and be less drawing, less of a draw. Okay, traditional landscape here, lead line moving us down and into the painting and through. Big shape in the middle, but look at the variations of negative space. This tree is not dead center of the format. It's got an implied diagonal here, okay? Be nice to do an armature on this. It would probably be a generic armature going from here to here and up to the corner. Look at the negative space on this side and this tree here moving us into this. It's a lot smaller here and darker, which forces our eye into the distance there. Okay, it's a Russian Impressionist painter. Again, we're studying art so we can learn how to compose our future paintings. Diagonals. Pretty obvious, but it's a good to know these structures. Notice how they're cutting things off here, how they cut the shapes off. That's just a small little sketch. Okay. All right, that's done. Ta-da. You guys still awake?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so this is you've heard of Gustav Klimt?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so this is a drawing, one of his drawings, and I did the same thing that I did with that Cezanne. I just superimposed an armature here over his drawing. Two armatures. Here's the Fibonacci circle. This is obviously because it fits perfectly like this. It is the golden section. So look at how aware he was of fitting his shapes within the format. And look at where these intersections are in his drawings, in the drawing itself. So nothing
is
is
that
by...
an armature for golden section?
Sorry?
Is that a specific armature on the left for golden section?
It probably is, yeah. You've got yourself a reciprocal here. I kind of screwed up on the, I think this is a 1.618 armature here. You've got a reciprocal. Now, mind you, even though you've got the golden mean or golden section or golden phi rectangle, which these are, you could still do just a generic armature with it, okay? There's no reason why you can't. You can draw from each of the points, each of the corners to the opposing sides, diagonals, diagonal lines. And you'll probably see, things lining up with those as well. Okay, so, but you go from that generic armature, okay, which would not be 90 degrees to the sinister or the Baroque diagonal, okay, and you move it to a 90-degree reciprocal here. Draw that line across. It's still a golden section rectangle, but it's a different armature now. Okay, different armature. I could have actually done a golden section armature to it if I wanted to, but I didn't. Okay, all right. Welcome to Disney.
Contains many golden rectangles.
Right. Hold on. We're going to just watch a little bit of this because it can be too long, and I don't want it to be too long for us. We've got to keep moving on here.
It was our old friend Pythagoras who discovered that the pentagram was full of mathemagic. The two shorter lines combined exactly equal the third. And this line shows the magic proportions of the famous golden section. The second and third lines exactly equal the fourth. Once again, we have the golden section. But this is only the beginning. Hidden within the pentagram is a secret for creating a golden rectangle, which the Greeks admired for its beautiful proportions and magic qualities. The star contains the golden rectangle many times over. It's a most remarkable shape. It can mathematically reproduce itself indefinitely. All of these rectangles have exactly the same proportions. This figure also contains a magic spiral that repeats the proportions of the golden section into infinity. To the Greeks, the golden rectangle represented a mathematical law of beauty. We find it in their classical architecture. The Parthenon, perhaps one of the most famous of early Greek buildings, contains many golden rectangles. These same golden proportions are also found in their sculpture. In the the centuries that followed, the golden rectangle dominated the idea of beauty and architecture throughout the Western world. The Cathedral of Notre Dame is an outstanding example. The Renaissance painters knew this secret well. Today, the golden rectangle is very much a part of our modern world. Modern painters have rediscovered the magic of these proportions. Indeed, this ideal proportion is to be found in life itself.
This is mathematics. I like mathematical figures like that.
Donald.
That means right.
No.
Ideal proportion.
Not quite. No, I'm afraid not. Well, we can't all be mathematically perfect.
Oh, yeah? You like to do it.
Now that you're all pent up in a pentagon, let's see how nature uses this same mathematical form. The petunia. The star jasmine. The starfish. The wax flower. There are literally thousands of members in good standing in nature's Pythagorean Society of the Star. All nature's works have a mathematical logic, and her patterns are limitless. The magic proportions of the golden section are often found in the spirals of nature's designs. The profusion of mathematical forms brings to mind the words of Pythagoras. Everything is arranged according to number and mathematical shape. Yes, there is mathematics in music, in art, in just about everything. And as the Greeks had guessed, the rules are always the same.
Hey! I miss Disney. Okay. This is a 60-second long video, which kind of is pretty cool to watch. So let's just watch this, and then we'll move on. Starts with the square, diagonal, Wasn't that fun? Hey. All right. All right, any questions? Thoughts?
Yeah, I just was curious if you've ever seen examples of art that doesn't fall within these armatures and the golden mean and these things that despite that works.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say.
What about Jackson Pollock's work, for instance?
Well, I think he still understood composition.
Yeah.
You know, but we'll explore that. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll explore that because.
And then what about the art in the indigenous cultures that had no awareness of these concepts?
What about them?
Like, do they don't always fall within this, do they?
No, the indigenous cultures rarely had dealt with notional space. You know, like the rectangle. They never really confined themselves to paint on things like that or draw or whatever. They had other organic shapes that they would design on. So,
thanks for.
But yeah, but it is a great concept. I would look at African and Oceanic art. Okay, because they were uninhibited by or unrestricted by the rectangle or by this formatting. Okay, or even the concept of the golden mean or the golden section. They had no idea. They were just working naturally. And
like Aboriginal art that works so
absolutely.
much dream time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Great.
Thank you.
Well, let's explore that.
Thank you.
So this is where we're moving here. We're moving into the Japanese influence on Western art, on aestheticism and how when their 19th century woodblock prints entered into Europe, how it influenced every artist that was contemporary at the time, from the 1840s on through all the way to the 1920s and 1930s. And so this is probably one of the most recognized and famous Japanese woodblock prints by Hokusai, called The Great Wave. And as you'll see, the golden section can be utilized in many different angles. Again, it has to do with shape relationship. Okay, here's another way of looking at it in the opposite direction. And so I thought if the Japanese were so adept into their woodblock printing, I thought it'd be interesting to explore what made this such an iconic, groundbreaking, and influential work of art here. And so I've got, I think this is right here.
今のようにインターネットとかテレビのない時代に、一般の市民の人たちがどこどこの芝居小屋ではどんなお芝居やってんだろうとか、あちら方面に行くと美しい富士山が見えるよとか、そういう情報を知るためのツールの一つだったわけです。決してアートではなかった。
There's that. Oh, hold on, stand by. Okay, there's that. It's good to know.
This episode is supported by Skillshare and our patrons, especially Indianapolis Homes Realty. You've seen this image before. A giant wave, its distinctive curly claws arched and ready to pounce. It's invoked when natural disaster strikes, but also when it's time to sell beer, jeans, and sweatshirts. It inspired Claude Debussy's orchestral work La Mer, as well as a not insignificant number of tattoos. It's an omnipresent image, and one used towards a variety of ends. Good grief, it's even an emoji. What is it about this image that continues to enthrall us? Let's better know the Great Wave. First off, the title is not The Great Wave, and its subject isn't really a wave. It's one of a series of woodblock prints called 36 Views of Mount Fuji, made by the Japanese printmaker Katsushika Hokusai between 1830 and 1833. Long considered sacred by followers of Shintoism and Buddhism, among others, Mount Fuji is depicted from a variety of perspectives, and the artwork in question is just one of them. Its actual title translates to Under the Wave off Kanagawa, because under is where Mount Fuji is nestled, far in the distance. Also under the wave are fishermen, just trying to get home after delivering fish to the city of Edo, rowing for their lives to escape the wave. But the Great Wave, of course, dominates the composition and has become an accepted title. Born near modern-day Tokyo in 1760, Hokusai was a prominent ukiyo-e artist, the name for the mass-produced woodblock prints of the Edo period. Notable for their distillation of forms, emphasis on line and pure color, and depictions of hedonistic city life. Ukiyo-e means floating world, referring to the ephemerality of the fads and fashions of the time. This was not stuffy high art, but images available to a growing middle class for about the cost of a bowl of noodle soup. Hokusai was fascinated by the movement of water, exploring the subjects on many occasions throughout his career. And not just rough seas, but a few calmer moments too. In the 1830s, when the Great Wave was created, Japan was largely shut off to the wider world due to the isolationist policies of the Tokugawa shogunate then in power. We can see Hokusai borrowing from Japanese Rimpa school artists like Ogata Korin, especially in the tentacle-like projections from his waves. But Western realism was creeping into Japanese art nevertheless, largely due to European engravings smuggled in by Dutch traders. The Great Wave betrays a clear Western influence, the use of linear perspective, a low horizon line, and the appearance of Prussian blue, a synthetic pigment then very new to Japan, hailing from, that's right, Prussia. Thousands of copies of the Mount Fuji prints were released within Japan, mostly bought as souvenirs by an emerging market of domestic tourists and those making pilgrimages to the mountain. But in the 1850s, after Hokusai's death, trade began to open up, and his work was shown at the 1867 International Exposition in Paris. Japanese culture quickly became all the rage in Europe, and ukiyo-e prints were admired and collected by many, including Claude Monet, Edgar Degas, Mary Cassatt, and a number of artists who were heavily influenced by their depictions of city life, vivid colors, and what for them was a flattening of space. In 1896, a tsunami hit northern Japan, and news of its destruction spread worldwide. It's been hypothesized that this event, coupled with the Japanisme craze, helped propel the Great Wave to international renown. Although the print does not depict a tsunami, in 2009, researchers identified it as a 32 to 39 foot tall rogue wave, or what they call a plunging breaker. It would certainly still be deadly, however, and that's where we get to the real and obvious drama of the picture. Nature is large, and we are small. This juxtaposition can be seen in the art of many cultures at many different times, but we have perhaps never seen it played out more clearly and more distinctly than here. Traditional Japanese landscapes of the time put the viewer at a remove from the action. But here we are right up against this pending disaster. Hokusai's contrast of near and far, and man-made and natural, heighten the tension and place us inside the narrative. When Debussy composed La Mer in 1903, he drew on his own childhood experience of surviving a terrifying storm on a fishing boat, as well as paintings by J.M.W. Turner, and Hokusai's print, which he selected for the score's cover. The image later illustrated a 1948 Pearl Buck novel that tells the story of a young boy from a Japanese fishing village who loses his family to a tidal wave, a post-World War II story of grief but also resilience. It's an image mobilized when disaster strikes, as it was after the devastating 2011 earthquake and tsunami off the eastern coast of Japan. Scientists and empirical evidence tell us that global average temperatures are rising, with extreme weather events becoming more frequent and more intense. While the sea has always been a formidable opponent for humankind, and the Great Wave a useful illustration for that relationship, its relevance is likely to become even stronger. But of course, the image can be interpreted in many different and less specific ways, symbolizing a great many imbalance of power. We don't know if our fishermen are going to make it out of there alive. It's a cliffhanger. Even if you don't register the boats or Mount Fuji and see the wave alone in its detached emoji state, it still holds us in and tells us quite forcefully that big things are happening or are about to happen. Unlike the GoPro views of surfers tunneling through barrel waves, the Great Wave story is not one of mastery over nature. It's notably called the Great Wave, and not the heroic fishermen who survived the rogue waves. Other artists have capitalized on the power and theatricality of waves as subject matter, but rarely in such a way that we marvel at the talents of the artist instead of the spectacular beauty of the wave itself. What's more, this image was meant to be reproduced, not sequestered in one museum where only a few have the privilege of witnessing it. While there are certainly numerous crimes against this image perpetrated across the internet, the crisp graphic quality of the original woodblock prints make it friendlier fodder for duplication and interpretation. When most of us experience the ocean, this is thankfully not how we usually see it. It's an incredibly improbable view. It's a film still or screen capture in the most dynamic, unstable, and unpredictable of environments. But it has nevertheless become our favorite stand-in for the ocean, a way to isolate some fraction of the vastness that covers 70% of planet Earth. It's an icon. It's the ultimate, most wave-like of all waves, but it's also an entire story told simply and succinctly and masterfully. Whatever your great wave is made of, you are undoubtedly under it, and always will be. Until you're not. I'd like to thank.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the reason why I chose this is because it's probably like the most famous one. I'm not going to show this to you, but when you get the video, you're more than welcome to click on this, and it'll show you exactly how it was made. They show the people carving it out, and mixing their paints, etc. It's just pretty fascinating. And a lot of what I do and what I'm trying to share with you is what's at the configuration of what it is we're studying, right? So because there was such an influence on art, as we know, I wanted to show this to you, that for those of you who don't know the kind of art I do, I'm known for painting at night on location. And I was down in Long Beach painting the moonrise there when this big fog came in and created this wave-like pattern. So I immediately, thought of the Great Wave, and I was working on the golden section format. So anyway, so I had some fun with it. I did the Fibonacci design. I tried to perfect it and get it all working together. That's basically how the image came out. But it was a very unusual fog arrangement. And so, I'm always studying.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
And so, thank you. But again, to make a better design. That moon might have been over here or might have been up here or whatever. But knowing design, I could place it. I can create my own interpretation to make a better aesthetic image, okay, out of what I saw. I'm free to do that. All right. And now, last one here. Okay, so I started looking into these. Stand by. We're almost through this. These are Japanese woodblock prints here, mostly on the nocturne side because, I mean, I do have more. I've got a lot more. But I just threw this together because of the nocturne subject matter for when I teach nocturne painting. And so they all had different formats. They had very specific sizes where they would design their shapes to fit within those formats, so they'd be aesthetically pleasing. And so you can see the simplified forms, you can see the diagonals, you can see the silhouettes, you can see the coloration, the influence of the Prussian blue to harmonize all of their paintings. And but their focal points are very clear. And structurally, the graphics make it very easy to read. So you see all these shapes. Some are long and wide, horizontals, and some are, this is what you call oban here, the one on the right. It's like, it works out to be like a 9 by 15.5 in size. That's the size of the oban composition. This is oban as well. Anyways, there's a beautiful aesthetic to them here. I don't know the names of these. I'm sorry, what?
What's the spelling of that? O-B-A-N?
O-B-A-N. O-B-A-N.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna show you something here in a minute. This is leading to, I've got all the formats that they would design from, all the sizes, etc. So, because your assignment's gonna be to create something based on one of the sizes that you pick. Now, they'll also, with the woodblock print, they'll come up with a design, and you'll see this maybe next week in the next week presentation, where they'll have a basic design, but because of their coloration, they can turn it into a nocturne, they can turn it into a sunset, they can turn it into anything based on the structure that they have. Okay, here I just kind of had a little bit of fun with the Fibonacci to see if I could figure out their compositions and how they would maybe place their line or their edges or their shapes in relationship. That was just kind of a quick draw there. And then here again, here's the focal point on the one on the right here. You can see where the moon is placed, how it falls within the generic armature here. Again, it doesn't have to be right on the line. It could be adjacent or nearby, whatever. It's just to see how the shapes all line up. So there's mathematics here. Okay, here's your basic rectangle here. This looks like a root rectangle. So you can see that there's perfection going on here where the intersections all take place. They're not just throwing things together. All right. This is not a Japanese artist. This is just some guy that I found on the internet. And I thought, oh, I'd like to place an armature on that. So I did this to see if he was aware. He might not have been aware, but it made sense when you could find it lining up with a vertice or so. Okay. So that's the Japanese woodblock prints. And now the influence, I love this. This is the influence of on Van Gogh. Van Gogh was probably the most influenced artist in the 19th century with his work, being influenced by the Japanese. Lead lines. That's just beautiful. Anybody ever been to the Van Gogh Museum?
On my bucket list. I take my
Oh,
sister.
yeah. Gotta go.
I went.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been there a couple times. It's just,
Yeah, beautiful.
it's amazing.
Where is it?
It's in Holland, in Amsterdam. Okay, here's a picture of Monet. You can see, anybody ever been there to Giverny?
Yes.
All right. You can see inside his house, he just packed full of Japanese prints.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a daytime shot of his kitchen. Not his kitchen, but his dining room area, and you can see all the Japanese prints that he hung everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, they were studying them. They knew that there was something there for them. Now, this is the formatting of the Japanese prints. Here's the Oban. That's all right. 13 and no, this is the one here. 10 by 15. That's what I was working with. I had a show that I did all this size paintings in the show. But all these have different sizes, which are based on these perfect rectangles, not necessarily the golden mean or the golden section, but the imagery that they created and the armatures that they would create before they carved into the wood had these formats for their designs. This is one of my students from last a year ago. He took one of those designs out to the park across the street from the mission, and this was his configuration on one of those images. I don't know what size it was. It wasn't that large. It looked like it was maybe 6 by 12 or 6 by 13 or so. You could probably figure that out if you come up with a 6. It was 5 by 13, the Hokusai side. And anyway, so that was his way of, again, you know, trying to get in touch with the Japanese in their what they were trying to do with their artwork. Okay, so this is my example. This was a demo I did a year ago in class where I had a square format. Actually, what it was I found a small probably 2 inch or 1 inch by 1 inch size print. It was a woodblock print, black and white image graphic of a print that Channing Peake had done when he was a student at the Santa Barbara School of the Arts. And so I took that image and I blew it up, and I did my armature first, my generic armature, toned the canvas, and then I drew his image that I saw, and I aligned it with the armatures the best I could. And then I saw in his image that he had a shape here. It looked like a moon. So after I did this, I laid in the colors and stuff, and then I finished the picture, and that was how it came out.
Nice.
So that, again, that was paying attention compositionally to the armatures that I drew, and I just
looks like a woodblock print.
It does. It really does. A lot of graphic quality to what was going on. I also I borrowed these colors from a Japanese print that I showed you earlier in that PowerPoint. I just mixed up my palette with some Prussian blue, a little bit of black, a little bit of ultramarine blue, and like cad yellow medium or so, or yellow ochre. And then I just stuck to that palette that I saw in the Japanese print, and that's why it looks like a Japanese print. All right, so I stole from the masters. This is a Vincent van Gogh. This is the only painting that he supposedly ever sold to a high school, a college student while he was alive. Last year I had the students copy this and put an armature to it. And so I just did this in front of them. I just kind of winged it, all right, on my iPad, doing a generic armature. So when you do the generic armature, you can kind of see where things line up next to these intersections in the eyes, and where the diagonals line up, and how things come together. So I'm not going to have you do that this time. Instead, I'm going to have you do this. This is going to be, it's much simpler. It's an easier read. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to print out 2 of these, if you can, and do a couple of armatures on it. You know, do your generic armature and see where things line up. If you can find out if it's a root rectangle, do that. I know already that it's not a golden mean. It's too boxy. But what I did is I'm giving you directions here again. You print 2 images. You draw the generic armature and rules of thirds on one of them. Okay, I want you to do the homework on one of them first, and then the other one you can just leave to the best of your ability. You can leave it unsullied, and I want you to show vertical and horizontal vertices wherever there are eyes or intersections. So I hope you all understand what I mean by that. Anytime you see a crossing of 1 or 2 lines, draw a vertical or a horizontal vertice to that. And you're going to see that vertical or horizontal vertice that you draw is going to run into other lines. And from there, you draw one there as well. What you're going to see is that all of these will line up eventually on these vertices. Okay, so it's calculatable mathematically. Okay, reproduce the drawing on a board or a canvas, and you can work 8 by 10 or 11 by 14, no larger. Okay, and these are the colors that I would work from if I were doing this myself. I would use cerulean blue. You can use Prussian blue as well. It's so strong. It's so strong. Let me put that in here. I'm going to just do or Prussian blue. It's so intense that the colors in this are really not that intense. I mean, you'd have to really hold back on the quantity of that Prussian blue mixed with a little bit of, say, cadmium yellow medium to get this green. But that blue will take over. Okay, so those are the colors. Cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, or Prussian blue. I also put indigo. Indigo is a very dark blackish blue. And oftentimes Van Gogh would use that to outline his paintings in a contour. Okay, it almost looks like black, but it wasn't black. Okay, cad red light or vermilion. Vermilion is really what was around before they invented cad red light or cadmium red. Vermilion is more of an earthy, orangey red, which is what you would use to kind of influence and get a little bit of a tint of this pinkish color. Okay, notice what's intense, like the intensity of the sunset here, but it's not that intense. It's still kind of a gray muted color. And then notice how dull this is and how dark that is. And you compare, if you were to draw or put a flat shape over what's the horizon line or the grass and compare this with this, you're going to see that this is darker and duller. So reflections are always going to be darker and duller. Sometimes they're also warmer. Okay, I just want you to see that variation. You can actually, if you have a computer right now, you can put your finger up on the horizon line and block out the horizon line, and you can see that variation happening. What that does, when you make this darker and duller, makes this stand out more. So you're subduing this to make this more important. All right, so that's the homework. This is homework number 2. Let's see. Choose one size of Japanese woodblock print, the notional format. Create simplified landscape on a specific size following the above directions that I gave you here. Okay, you don't have to do that, but much like my student did last time, he went up to this. He went up to this, and he chose a size. He found something he wanted to paint, and he stuck to this format. And that was the restrictions that he placed on himself to create that image. So he did do his armatures first on that. Okay, that's going to help him decide where his shapes are going to go. They're guidelines. Okay. All right, so that's number 2. You choose one size of Japanese woodblock prints as a format. You create simplified landscape on the specific size following the above directions. Okay, and then this is just for your spare time. This is where we're heading in terms of Art Nouveau, Cubism, genre painting, Impressionism, Post-Impressionism, Expressionism, and Fauvism. All right, this is all happening at the same time period in Europe when the Japanese prints arrived. And those Japanese prints influenced every single one of these movements. All right, so you don't have to do anything with it. I just want you to look it up and look at some of the artists who were painting in these genres of painting. And you'll find everything under the sun, from traditional representational painting, which is the genre painting, to all these new avant-garde ways of looking at art. The Art Nouveau, the Cubism, the Impressionism, Post-Impressionism, Expressionism, and Fauvism. All right, so you have your marching orders. And are there any questions?
Request?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Dylan. I'm sorry. I signed up for the class late and I didn't get on the list. So I haven't been receiving the emails with the assignments. And I'm wondering if maybe I could get last week's at least, since I missed last week.
Yeah, I could have swore that you're on the list. I mean, how did you find out about this class today?
Because I asked you specifically. I told you the link that I had wasn't working. And then you sent me the updated link.
Because you're enrolled. You are.
Yeah, but I wasn't enrolled the first week. I added late. I think that's
right,
what's
okay.
happened. My bad.
Not a problem. Not
Thank
a problem. Last week's assignment. I hope I still have it. I know I have it somewhere.
And I just wanted to say, brilliant work, everybody. Really inspiring.
Yay! Yeah. Well. Yay.
Thomas, Nina, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
Last week, Tim suggested doing our complicated armatures on a piece of acetate that's the same size as our canvas. How then do you use that?
Well, that's a little harder. What you could, that's a little harder to do because if you're going to be drawing your composition, I don't know how you would do it unless you somehow, you know what you could do? You could do a tracing paper. You could do your armature on a tracing paper, and then you could draw your armature, your composition over that armature on the tracing paper. Then you could place that onto your board, and you could either use graphite underneath, or if you had old-fashioned typewriter paper, carbon paper, you can place that on there, and then you could just lightly trace through your composition on, so it sets onto the board. And then when you lift it up, you've got a remnants of that tracing, and you can actually go over it again to darken it down again, and then you could fix it, and then you can do whatever. You can either tone the board over what you fixed and then start in with your painting, or whatever. So that's a way of doing it as well. Okay.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you. This is Wendy. I have another question.
Hey, Wendy.
On assignment number 2, you
Yes.
said that the simple landscape. Are we doing our own simple
landscape?
landscape?
Your own landscape. Your own landscape.
Using that.
Yeah, but I'm gonna restrict you to one of those sizes.
Okay.
In this, and I want you to state what size it was that you used.
Right.
So
okay. we use that painting for both 1 and 2.
No. This the print that I just showed you, the woodblock print. Okay. This one here. This is one. That's 1. Okay.
Right.
You do that, but then the second one. Maybe I'm making it too hard for you. The second one is choose your own image. But if you're going to do that, I want you to restrict it to one of these choices here.
Right. Okay. Got it.
All right. Okay, everybody. So,
I have one question.
Okay, who's that?
It's Cassie. On the wood block, the first one, we do that size or proportional to that.
Yes. Yeah, that size is right. Yeah. Yeah, so whatever, when you print it out, you're going to get a pretty good idea. You can do an armature over it. Like if I can already see right now, if I make it a square around it, like if I do this, watch this, all right? Da-da-da, because I can do this now. I'm learning how to construct. Okay, I'm just guessing by eye. I'm going to make this a square.
Thomas, who is this artist? Do you know?
I do not, but this came from an image that I got in New York City at the Met. Okay, so he's pretty well known. It's not. I don't think it's Hokusai, but it might be. It's not Hisui. You had Hokusai, and you had what's the other famous guy? Anyways, if you take this image, you just do a screenshot of it, and then put it into Google Images, it'll come up. Okay, so I'm going to go right now. I'm going to do this. See how I just drew a diagonal across it? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. And then draw that diagonal down and see if that either comes out here or here. This might be a root 2 rectangle. Let's see if I do this. If I go here, I'll try to freeform this here best I can. I mean, ideally, I'm going to just imagine this right now. I think I'm off in my imagination, but that's because I am a product of the 60s and I did experiment with hallucinogenics at one time. So anyway, so it's either there or it's going to come out a little farther, which means it's not quite a root 2, but you're in the vicinity anyway. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions?
No.
All right. Well, that's the end of the class. Thank you all for showing up and for doing the homework. I wish we could do more of this stuff in class, and I could be walking around as you're working on this stuff, so I could, direct you more and stuff. It would be even more profound, and you guys would get it even better and more efficiently. But it is what it is, and we'll just look forward to seeing you next week and seeing your interpretations of the homework. Okay? All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Stand by for the thank you. All right. Have a great time.
Great lesson.
Thank you. Thank you. See you next week.